Good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners workshop meeting of January 25th, 2022. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Kerner.
Here.
Commissioner Marino.
Here.
Commissioner McKinley.
Here.
Commissioner Sachs. Here. Mayor Weinroth.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Wise.
Here.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Wise, would you please do the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance?
I would be delighted.
Please stand.
Guide us in the duties we are about to perform. Give us wisdom to make the best decisions for all our citizens. Help us to remember that no problem is too small to escape concern and perplexity too great to resist solution. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Weiss.
I'm sorry I did that to you.
Boy, we're starting early.
I guess. Okay, Madam Administrator, any additions, deletions, or substitutions to the agenda?
Mayor, we have no additions, deletions, or substitutions to the agenda.
Can I have a motion to adopt? I have a motion by Vice Mayor Weiss, seconded by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed. That's approved 7-0. We have a special presentation today. We have our good friend Dr. Alina Alonso in the house. Dr. Alonso, come on up. And emergency management, do we have a representative? Yeah, Mary, are you here? There you are. Okay. I only want good news this morning. Okay.
So, very happy to be here again, Mayor. Thank you for the invitation. The rest of the commissioners, happy to be here. County Administrator, good to see you.
Can you move the microphone a little closer?
Sure. Use this one that's on this side. How is that? Is that much better? Okay, sorry about that. So good morning to everybody and everybody watching today. So we're going to go through this very quickly. I really do have good news. Our numbers are going down, and so therefore I'm going to just do this quickly. Our first slide, I decided to change it up a little bit, and instead of the one that shows you the number of cases, I decided to do the one showing the deaths, because there's a lot of communication in the news and so forth that yes, our numbers are going down. This top line is a summary of what's going on in the United States. So you do see the numbers of cases kind of plateauing and then coming on a curve going down. However, the number of deaths have gone up nationwide, and that is this little peak that we see here. Our vaccination rate is pretty much stagnant. We see that we got 80% of people vaccinated with one vaccine only, but the fully vaccinated is still down at 67.4. And we are in the very high community transmission. It's off the charts in terms of the numbers that were supposed to be on that scale. It's kind of like the hurricanes. We need a new scale for these types of pandemics. So I just wanted to show you that. I think this is just something that is catching up with the high number of cases that we had before. Remember, the deaths follow like 2 weeks. So I think we will start seeing those deaths going down. Now, that's very different from what we have here in Palm Beach County, so let's concentrate on what we have here. We are seeing the Omicron now at 99%, so everything that's out there is Omicron, and so we have to take that into account when we talk about therapies and monoclonals. The FDA yesterday put a new announcement and new guidelines. You can read that. It's very specific for the combinations, monoclonal therapies that are no longer to be used in the United States. Our numbers here, this is what Ed Chase gives to you. You can see, just to compare where we were and where we are now, back in November when we were in the yellow, and all the way down to moderate, we were at 2.3% daily case positivities, with a population, the transmissible rate for the community transmission was at 48 patients per 100,000. We are now at 1,013 cases per 100,000. So as you can see,
I'll do your slides.
oh, I'm so sorry. See, I'm trying to do it quick. So you can see here that this is where we were back in November, right? 48 per 100,000. And this is where we are now, even though this is coming down very fast. All right, so maybe for February, we'll get that down to the yellow. But right now, the entire United States is very, very high at this transmission rate. And our positivity, 24.8, where we needed to be below 5 to have any chance of going back down. So, and the same numbers are for Florida. Now, if you look at Miami and Dade, they're even higher than this. So the transmission in the community is still very, very high. So to show you this in terms of our numbers, maybe a graph is worth 1,000 words. You can see that the green is the numbers for 22, way higher than anything that we've ever had before, including last year. This is where we were in 21. So just to give you a perspective of the number of cases. Luckily, we prepared for that. We were ready for it, and so we've been able to handle the number of cases and the reporting. So here is our cases per week. You can see that our peak reached at the end of December, which makes perfect sense. That had to do with the holidays, the Thanksgiving and the Christmas and the traveling and everything else. And then we were waiting for the what would happen for the New Year's Eve, right? We were waiting to see what would happen if we'd have another peak as a result of that, and we did not. People here in Palm Beach County really pretty much stayed home for New Year's Eve. There wasn't a lot of outside, although we partied a lot in the street and threw a lot of fireworks, but people behaved pretty good, and so we did not have that peak occur here in Palm Beach County, and our numbers started coming down, and now we have almost the same kind of very steep cases going down to 3,351 cases for our last week ending on January 27. Similarly, I showed you this last time that showed our number of cases that had gone up, but all along our number of deaths had remained low, right? And we had talked about this nationally, that the hospitals were not filling up here in Florida, that we were doing well, our hospitals were calm. And so this is just an increase, so you can see it by day. We had our peak here on January, around January 12th, where it peaked with 11 cases for that day. And then it has steadily been going down, where we had 2 and 3 cases the last few days. Now, keep in mind that all these numbers will change. Why? You remember from our last conversations that the deaths get put in the day of death. So as we go forward, these numbers may look more like these, but still, it's a downward trend. And so that is good for us. And Mary will speak about the hospital since they had the conversations with them specifically. The last thing I want to show you is our immunizations, telling you why we are now in an endemic situation, and we will be in this endemic situation for this reason. Right here you have the numbers of people who have been vaccinated, completely vaccinated. This is the numbers that we have to have, right? We want people to be completely vaccinated and boosted. So for the 60 to 79 age group, this in yellow, they're above 80%. So they are very safe. Unfortunately, these are not the ones going out into the community and spreading it. So this group who is going out is still in the very low numbers. We have only been able to increase these top numbers, the 5 to 9 and the 10 to 11. Last time I showed you this, the 10 to 11 were a 2% increase, and we have a 1% increase for the 5 to 9 and 10 to 11. We are doing everything we can to continue to provide those vaccines for that young age group. And of course, under 5, they cannot get vaccinated. So that remains something that we're going to continue to see for months to come. And so that is why we have to, not be afraid of this thing, but we have to take precautions. We have to take care of one another and continue to do what we're doing in terms of watching and making sure that everybody stays safe, and just learn how to live in a pandemic instead of, being alarmed all the time. We got to let the fear come down so that we can remain doing our jobs and doing what we have to do and carrying on with what we're doing every day. So that's my presentation. I'll let Mary take over.
Before Mary takes over, Doctor, can you just clarify, and I know you alluded to it, that there's been a change with respect to the monoclonal antibodies being withdrawn as far as emergency use authorization, so that it's not going to be available for our residents at this point. Can you just clarify that?
Yes, there are, you need to go, it's the FDA COVID update that the FDA announced yesterday. I don't want to get into all the names and everything because it's very specific. They're combination therapies that are having. We have to look and see what we have here and make sure that people are still, they're not going to give us, they're not going to be giving the therapy that's not approved. So they will make their changes accordingly so that people can get treated with the right monoclonal therapy. Remember, these are man-made antibodies, and so if they don't work against the Omicron, it doesn't make any sense getting it. Now, if you have the Delta and you still switch to these new combinations that do work, they're going to work against the Delta. So it's not like you're going to give up. If you happen to have, if you're in that 1% or less than 0.5%, and you do have the Delta, these will still work. These work on all of them. So that's the idea.
When someone goes to get a test right now, they're not being told anything other than they have COVID. They're not being told you have Omicron or Delta.
That's correct.
So there's no way for them to know whether they would be getting the benefits of the monoclonal at this point.
The monoclonals work on all of them. So yes, if you are in a high-risk category, you should go get your monoclonal therapy to avoid going into the hospital and or dying, right? So that makes sense. The therapy works that way. So
Okay.
don't worry. It's Omicron. 99.5% of everything out there right now is Omicron. So even if it's Delta or even if it's something else, they all work against it. So anybody who is high risk should get the monoclonal as a prevention.
Thank you. Ms. Blakeney, you're up.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator Baker. I'm going to quickly go through some of our COVID data that we've been maintaining and just give you some highlights of some additional activities we've done here within the county. The first graph is the total positivity rate. The upper right graph shows the overall positivity rate, which is at 24.9%, which is the highest positivity rate we've had since COVID began. The lower left-hand graph indicates the positivity rate over the last 2 months of testing. As we go into the weekly positivity rate, as Dr. Alonso talked about, we are currently at 24.8%, which has dropped 2 weeks in a row. The all-time high was 34%. As we talk about the deaths, as Dr. Alonso alluded to, the graph in the upper right shows our overall deaths in Palm Beach County, and the lower left graph shows the death over the past 6 months. Our current death rate in Palm Beach County stands at 1.71%. Regarding daily med alerts, this is a representative countywide sample from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue of individuals that call 911 with COVID-like symptoms. As you can see by the chart in the lower left corner, the med alerts have decreased for the past 2 weeks. This past week, the average was more than 9 patients per day. This is down from the all-time high back on August 14th, where they were seeing 33 patients a day. Regarding our COVID-19 advancements, the emergency management team and the county staff continue to work closely with Dr. Alonso and her staff, our state peers, and various community partners to get resources into our community. Through this collaboration, we've expanded, and I'll share a little more on that, the monoclonal therapy treatment sites, testing locations, and continue to make vaccinations readily available. In addition to the increase in resources, we maintain communication with our hospital CEOs. We recently had a call and received very good feedback on their current situation and improvements that they are seeing. When we talk about the monoclonal sites, with the most recent surge, we were reached out to by the state on December 31st and asked if we could identify a second site to administer the therapy. But with a limited supply, the site did not open until Tuesday, January 18th. As you all are aware, last night we received word from the state late that the Food and Drug Administration revised the emergency use authority for monoclonal antibodies and is no longer allows our providers to administer these treatments in the United States. Due to this decision, all monoclonal sites statewide have been closed temporarily, and all individual appointments that were scheduled, all of those individuals have been contacted by the state that their appointment has been canceled. Regarding COVID-19 home test kits, in an effort to alleviate long lines at the testing locations, on Friday and Saturday, January 7th and 8th, several county departments and their staff, along with 3 of our municipal partners, supported the establishment of 8 geographically located points of distribution. During the 2-day operation, more than 41,000 at-home kits were distributed. These kits were provided to the county by the state. During the distribution of these kits, we did experience a reduction in traffic at the freestanding testing locations. The following week, the state also conducted a mass delivery of test kits to 274 assisted living facilities and nursing homes within the county. Our Public Affairs Department continues to maintain the list of resources on our county website where residents can go for vaccines and testing. Most of these sites are open 7 days a week for both testing and vaccinations. This past week, the federal government announced every home in the U.S. is eligible to order 4 free at-home COVID-19 tests by visiting covidtests.gov. We have vaccinated over 1,059,000 people in Palm Beach County, which represents 75% of our 5-year and older population. We continue to encourage individuals to get vaccinated while wearing a mask, washing our hands, and watching our distance. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And I'm not seeing any red lights. You guys have obviously covered this, and we appreciate it. Commissioner McKinley, you've made me a liar.
You moved faster than my coffee allowed me to move. I have just a couple of questions for Dr. Alonso. Dr. Alonso, when I look at your Palm Beach County immunizations rates by ages, I'm a little surprised to see that our, I like to call them our super seniors, the 85-plus population has such a low number.
That's because many of them are in long-term care facilities and really unable to do it on their own. And have difficulties perhaps getting around and getting to places. We do take calls and help people who need assistance in getting to a site, okay? But a lot of them, because they are at home and they're not moving around, they're not going anywhere, just haven't gone for vaccinations. But
Okay.
a lot of those that are not vaccinated are actually in long-term care facilities. So we're urging the long-term care facilities to vaccinate, vaccinate, vaccinate.
Okay, thank you. And then just a couple of questions in terms of protocol. Let's say you were not vaccinated and you ended up catching this latest variant. How long after you've recovered from COVID should you begin your immunizations?
You can actually begin it immediately. There's no contradiction. However, you do have at least a few months of immunity from your own natural immunity. So Most people like to wait at least a few months if they decide to get it. Others, after having the scare, go ahead and get vaccinated right away. So it's up to the individual. There's no contraindication of getting vaccinated right away.
And how about the booster?
The booster is at 6 months.
6 months after you've had COVID?
Oh, same thing for the booster. No, I thought you meant if you got vaccinated, then you'd have to wait 6 months to get your booster.
Okay, and then my last is just a comment. I just want to say thank you. I get the weekly updates on your continued efforts to reach out to our farm workers, so thank you for keeping that up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor Weiss.
Good morning, Dr. Alonso. Thanks for the presentation. Thank you, Ms. Blakeney, as well. Question regarding, I guess there's another variant now. I think it's called BA.2, and that's circulating. I guess a number of countries are reporting it. It has also been found in the United States. Any sense of will that reinfect people who had Omicron? Would they then be susceptible to this other variant, or do we know anything
Yes.
really about it?
Yes, everyone's susceptible to all the different variants, and there's many more variants that are circulating. And remember, we don't know what we don't test for, right? But what is done with every single variant that has occurred is that the World Health Organization declares them whether they're of interest or not, based on how they react, based on their testing that they do on them. The first thing that they do is they test to make sure that the vaccine is still effective on them. And then at that point, the CDC then either follows suit or does not follow suit. There have been several variants, so we have decided that are not promulgating here in the United States, and they have not become even variants of interest. So it's up to the CDC when they do their sequencing and their testing to see how much is around. So it's not uncommon for there to be variants that we don't even know are around. Because remember, when you get tested, they're just testing to see the protein. They're just testing, a rapid test only tests the protein spikes. And the PCR goes and tests the genetic material inside the virus, right? So that's all it's testing for. It's not testing to see if it's a variant or not. For that, you have to send it to special labs to do sequencing. That's when they find out if it's a variant or not. And that's not done all the time, and it's not done routinely at all. So it's when the CDC is specifically looking for. Now, the fact that they've reported it, then we know they have their eye on it, and we wait to see what it takes. As you saw with the Omicron, it took several weeks and a lot of news coverage and a lot of things because it was spreading so quickly, right? But it takes time for them to do all that testing and find out whether or not it's going to be of interest in the sense of how it will spread and how it will affect us.
Okay.
So we got to wait. That could have been the quick answer.
Okay. I think we are all satisfied with the information. Thank you so much, Ms. Blakeney
you.
and Dr. Alonso. We do appreciate that update. All right, we're going to move on to the regular agenda. We have a couple of items here from the Clerk and Controller. Vice Mayor Weiss, would you run through these real quick? 4A1. Make a motion.
I would be happy to move item 4B1.
4A1. Okay. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor? All opposed? Passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve 4A2.
4A2. I have a second by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor? All opposed? That passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4A3, A and B.
I have a second by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor? All opposed? That's approved 7-0.
And I'd also
Commissioner
like-
McKinley, did you? No? Okay. I saw you going for the button. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4A4.
4A4 has been seconded by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor? All opposed? That's approved 7-0. We move on to 4B1, Engineering. Mr. Ricks, did you want to make a quick presentation on this? Quick is a salient word.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and County Administrator. Item 4B1 is an assignment assumption of an agreement to transfer a couple of projects, Gateway Boulevard Project, High Ridge Road Project, construction contracts 202-134, and the Palmetto Road Project, which is contract number R2021-0212, from Hard Drives of Delray to Ranger Construction Industries. Recently, Ranger acquired Hard Drives, and so because of that, they want to assume the contracts that Hard Drives previously had. So this assumption of the current contracts that the board approved from Hard Drives to Ranger.
Very good. Vice Mayor?
I would like to make a motion to approve item 4B1.
I have a second by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed, that's approved 7-0.
Mr. Mayor, I had my light on.
That light is on, Commissioner McKinley. I knew
Thank
you were going for it.
I actually just wanted to speak on this item and thank the board's support for moving this forward. And I just really want to thank George Elmore for all of his years of service to the business community. I think this indicates he's going to be working more on his charitable endeavors than on paving roadways these days. I can't think of two classier businessmen in this county than George Elmore and Leo Vasilio, and glad to see that we'll still be doing business with them in some fashion. So congratulations to George Elmore on this business decision. Thank you,
So
Mayor.
noted. Very good. That's been approved. 4B1 has been approved 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Ricks.
Thank you.
Okay, County Attorney has a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4C1. This amendment extends current contract for John Carey, the Inspector General. It also modifies the deferred compensation provision and provides for an additional contribution of $550 per month to his salary in lieu of a car allowance.
Okay, I understand from Mr. Von Laren that our Inspector General would like to be heard for a moment. Is that right? Yeah.
Well, good morning, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice, and Commissioners. I just want to say it's just been such an honor to serve Palm Beach County as your Inspector General, to be the independent office over not only the county government, but the 39 municipalities, Solid Waste Authority, and Children's Services Council. And again, I just love my job and the fact we make good government better in making through our audits and investigations and contract oversight, and that we promote integrity, accountability, efficiency, and transparency in government. And again, I appreciate what I've done. It's been an honor to be the IG, and I look forward to another 4 years of service.
We appreciate your services and the transparency that you have added to government and taken the C in front of county and erased it. Thank you very much. We have a motion by Vice Mayor Weiss to approve 4C1. I have a second by Commissioner Kerner. All in favor, all opposed. That is approved 7-0. All right, let's do some housekeeping here. We have some off-site proclamations to approve. First, I will defer to Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. I would like to request board approval for an off-site proclamation recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Loxahatchee River Historical Society.
I have a motion by Commissioner Marino, seconded by Vice Mayor Weiss. All in favor, all opposed. It has been approved 7-0. Vice
you.
Mayor Weiss.
On behalf of the mayor for District 4, I'd like to request the following off-site proclamations for approval, declaring January 27th, 2022 as Palm Beach County Greek Heritage Day, declaring February 6th, 2022 as Congregation B'nai Israel Lori Schuyler Mitzvah Day, certificate of recognition for B Gold, and Oh, that's all. Okay.
That's all. Okay,
If
I have a
there's
motion by Vice Mayor Weiss, seconded by Commissioner Sacks. All in favor, all opposed? It is approved 7-0. And before we move on to our workshop, I see Chief Dern here. Chief, I'd like to just recognize the Rapid Intervention Team, which this weekend was awarded at the Fire Rescue East in Daytona, best out of 20 departments, and I certainly commend you for that. And also, several of us were at the graduation ceremony, which you weren't able to be at because you can't be in two places at the same time. And we were very excited to see Class 83 with 24 freshman members of the fire rescue. And we, again, commend you on bringing forward so many well-qualified members of your department. Okay. With that being said, and not seeing any more lights on, we are going to move on to our workshop. Madam Administrator, would you like to introduce what's coming up?
Again, this is a part of us updating the board on the fact that we are Team PBC. We work across departmental lines to make sure that we're delivering efficient and effective services to our residents. And I won't belabor it. It's a lot of information, and I think that we all learned a lot with our last session in which the board, we presented 3 teams. We've got the remaining 3 teams that we will have. I will now turn it over to staff.
Sherry, you are up.
Good morning. Thank you. This is a continuation from our November workshop. We have 3 presentations for you today, and I think we're leading off with economic development, so we'll get them going.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
The Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners recognizes the importance of economic development.
I'm hearing voices.
A little technical difficulty. That's what happens when you use technology. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioner. Sherry Howard, Deputy Director of the Department of Housing and Economic Development. First, I would like to request that all the members of the Economic Development Cross-Departmental Team please stand and be recognized that are able to be here today. Thank you. So we've all seen the headlines regarding the influx of workers and companies, mainly from our northeastern states migrating south to South Florida, and in particular to Palm Beach County. What makes Palm Beach County so attractive, in addition to our beautiful weather, is a level of service that we provide to both our residents and to our visitors. The Economic Development Cross-Departmental Team has spent the last year delving into how each county department participates in driving various initiatives within that department's expertise that strives toward the same goals: to provide resources to every sector of our community, to continue to keep our county economically resilient, and provide a high quality of life for all of our residents. We have prepared the majority of our presentation in the form of a video that represents examples of the diverse strategies underway that fall within the team's goals and the initiatives undertaken through the support of the Board of County Commissioners and County Administration. The team has also provided you with supplemental information with associated data to track the identified goals. We're here to answer any questions that you have. We'll go ahead and roll the video, and Paul Connell will wrap it up. Thank you.
The Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners recognizes the importance of economic development as one of its top strategic priorities. Economic development is a term that can encompass different meanings, but they all incorporate the well-being and quality of life of a community. Because we are a diverse county geographically with urban and rural areas, and we are diverse in industry and population, diverse economic development strategies continue to be explored so that every resident can live, work, and play in Palm Beach County. According to our industry data from the State Department of Economic Opportunity, top industries by employment include professional and business services, trade, transportation, and utilities, education and health services, and leisure and hospitality. And small business is big business, as 93% 98.6% of all businesses in Palm Beach County are categorized as small businesses. Housing prices have increased much faster than the average income, creating an affordability gap. Now, a median price home costs 6.2 times the median income, creating a lack of obtainable housing inventory for our teachers, healthcare workers, hospitality, and government workers. The construction industry remains strong in the county, and we are now surpassing even the strong growth we saw in 2020. We're now going to talk about our 7 key economic goals and how the metrics for these goals are met through varying departments in the county. Goal number 1, support preservation and recovery of existing businesses, including tourism and hospitality, adversely impacted by COVID-19. The leisure travel industry has continued to recover as vaccinations became available in the early months of 2021. Record bed tax collections for April, May, June, July, and August were bolstered by the desire of visitors to escape to a getaway. In addition, visitors wanting to stay in rental properties like Airbnb, VRBO, and privately owned residences, as our non-hotel bed tax collections 75% higher than our record 2019 year. Sports tourism is recovering faster than business travel, meetings, and conferences, with the benefit of outside venues, fresh air, and wide open spaces. Our cultural tourists will continue to prefer our outdoor cultural venues, but the return to performing arts centers' indoor performances will be tested in the return of our northern friends interested in escaping to the Palm Beaches. Goal number 2, advance a stable and diversified economic base that maximizes jobs for county residents. Our Economic Development Incentive Program provides funding to businesses that provide a high capital investment, create jobs at higher than average salaries, and are in the state's targeted industries that include aviation and aerospace, clean tech, manufacturing, life sciences, and logistics, and distribution, just to name a few. Our loan programs support businesses who are unable to access traditional lenders or receive favorable terms for gap financing in order to bring the project to fruition. We also have a loan program that is available specifically to rural areas, primarily located in our western communities, a program for areas in designated brownfield sites, and a program for businesses that want to make energy improvements through the Department of Energy. Our microloan program is capped at $25,000 for businesses that have smaller financial needs. These programs offer incentives for a variety of business needs in order to support a stable and diversified economic base. The goal of the county's program is to support all residents regardless of their trade. The county's Securing Our Initiative program also provides support for upward economic mobility. Goal 3, promote entrepreneurial development opportunities. Palm Beach County also has programs to encourage new businesses. We have a wide array of partnerships that provide assistance from the startup to Fortune 500 companies. Assistance can range from developing a budget and marketing plan to providing loans or other incentives. The Office of Equal Business Opportunity has held numerous events to support small businesses, including the Black Business Month Small Business Outreach, held at John Prince Park. Now we will hear from Mr. Jamal Sowell from Enterprise, Florida, who attended the event virtually.
I've been asked to speak about the state of Black business in Florida. As I look around the state and Black communities, from the Panhandle and our rural cities to bustling urban cities or South Florida or Palm Beach County, I'm convinced that the future could not be brighter for Black businesses. But the challenges they face are significant. At Enterprise Florida, our Minority and Small Business Entrepreneurship Capital Division, or known as MASBEC, works intimately with Black businesses, and one of the consistent themes they express is the need for capital. During the height of the pandemic, this need became even more dire. Enterprise Florida went into action to leverage our existing resources and connections to improve their access to vital capital.
And currently, the county has 692 total certified SBE vendors, and that number continues to increase as another tool to promote entrepreneurial opportunities. Goal 4, revitalize communities to support economic development. Revitalize communities to support economic development includes access to well-maintained parks, that improve the quality of life in the community, raises property values, attracts an enhanced labor force, and attracts business. We are working with stakeholders to develop a new Park and Recreation 2040 master plan. Goals are to identify areas in need of parks and recreation services, reduce park deserts, and increase community improvements in distressed areas, promote development through brownfield incentives, ultimately promoting neighborhood sustainability through the revitalization of communities.
In 2021, the county increased its funding of parks capital projects to over $28 million.
One of these projects is Belvedere Heights Park on Bridgman Drive, west of Australian Avenue and north of Belvedere. The project was funded by the Department of Housing and Economic Development using a Community Development Block Grant. Maintenance is funded by the Office of Community Revitalization. Shark Wake Park opened to the public on June 15, 2019. The facility contains an inflatable floating playground, 2 5-tower cable systems, a pro shop, and concession area. The project is a P3 between Palm Beach County and Shark Wake Park 561. The 2021 NEAT Grant Community Improvement Project has contributed to numerous endeavors in our community, including the Little Free Library Project in Lantana Homes, median landscaping improvements in Country Club Acres and Delray Beach, the community clubhouse renovation in Country Club Acres and Delray Beach, and park enhancements in Limestone Creek Park, located in Jupiter. Plans are finalized and permits are in hand for the second phase of the Glades Pioneer Park Orange Bowl Field. Construction is expected to begin in November with a 6-month build time until completion. Goal number 5, support and promote a viable and diverse agricultural industry. We are the second largest agricultural county east of the Mississippi, and agriculture is an extremely important industry in our county. Our 5th goal is to support and promote the agricultural industry. To support a thriving agricultural community, one of the key services provided by the county through the Cooperative Extension includes activities and training specific to farmers and agricultural support industries. Providing support and research to the hydroponics farmers is just one of the many areas where we promote agriculture. Patagonia Greenleaf is a recent entrant into the hydroponic farming industry in Palm Beach County and is a family-owned small business located in Boynton Beach. The use of hydroponic methods to grow leafy vegetables is relatively new to Palm Beach County, but these methods are becoming increasingly popular. The concept of hydroponic production is very simple: growing plants without soil. However, doing it right is challenging. The Cooperative Extension is building long-term relationships with emerging businesses like this to support local sustainable agriculture in urban settings and provide fresh local food to Palm Beach County residents, but will also create jobs and encourage comparable businesses to grow while promoting sustainable agriculture in the area. Goal 6. Enhance and expand opportunities for paid and unpaid student and apprenticeship programs. This year we filled 241 student positions and 8 apprenticeship jobs. This represents a slight increase in the number of apprentice jobs budgeted, and a greater percentage of student jobs are in professional, technical, and paraprofessional positions. Our strategies to achieve this goal include continuing to formalize the process for recruiting and hiring interns and apprentices in all departments, updating and expanding online information hubs for department programs, evaluating methods to incentivize county partners to invest in apprenticeship and internship programs. Feedback from student positions indicate that these opportunities help them develop key soft skills such as teamwork, responsibility, communication skills, organizational, relationship, and time management skills, and flexibility. Fire Rescue has a robust Fire Rescue Reserves program that are deeply engaged in the organization. We would now like to introduce you to some of our interns.
I've benefited in so many ways from my internship here at YSD. For starters, by being able to interact with different parents and all the guests that come into our office, a lot of my interpersonal skills have increased. Secondly, because I've been afforded the opportunity to work with different employees within the department, I have increased my teamwork and collaboration skills. And lastly, as a result of all the tasks and duties my supervisors have given me, I've been able to increase a lot of my administrative skills.
I've definitely benefited in where increasing my social network, being able to meet new people and new people in this area of work here in the county, and being able to increase my work experience in this field as well of social services, and yeah, just being able to meet new people and get that good work experience for my future.
Goal 7. Identify economic opportunities associated with resilient investments. This year, the group has added a new goal focused on resilient investments with strategies we will highlight now. First, we will continue to support resilient, transit-oriented development approaches that drive economic growth. Next, we will continue to promote resilient county infrastructure that provides community amenities and supports economic development, such as Wakota-Hatchie, shown here, and Greengate, which is another wastewater and wetlands infrastructure solution. The third strategy is to support and collaborate with the local business development community on economic resilience. Similarly, we will offer strategic input on upcoming climate action plans that the county develops as they relate to economic resilience. Next, we will support businesses on their post-disaster economic development recovery plans so that they can get back to work quickly and safely if a disaster strikes. Our cross-developmental economic development team will continue to develop and refine strategies to address the county's goals for economic development based on the changing climate. Continue to evaluate metric outcomes to determine effectiveness of strategies, and modify strategies to address negative outcomes.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, County Commissioners. Some of the highlights for this year you can see on page 40 of the outline that you have. That's the Board of County Commissioners' support has resulted in assistance to 5,182 Palm Beach County businesses with $78.5 million in CARES Restart Business grants. Bed tax collections for the tourism industry in Palm Beach County returning to within 6% of our record 2019 pre-pandemic receipts. 692 businesses being certified as SBEs. Capital funding in excess of $28 million being made available for park improvements and expansions, and 147 educational workshops and trainings being delivered to 3,677 clients that grow food crops, manage nursery plants, enforce worker safety requirements, and/or implement environmentally friendly agriculture best management practices. I think our video showed what our next steps were, but I'll just go over them again. We'll continue to develop and refine strategies to address the county's goals for economic development based on the changing climate. We'll continue to evaluate metric outcomes to determine effectiveness of strategies, and we'll modify those strategies to address any negative outcomes that we see. Does anyone have any questions?
Vice Mayor Weiss.
Thank you. So in doing your analysis of the investments that we're making, have you all come up with sort of, best return on investment scenarios and where they are specifically? I mean, some things obviously are going to have a higher return than others, and have you done anything like that where you've looked at that?
So in terms of investments in park locations?
I'm talking about investments in economic development programs.
Okay, Sherry will have to answer that question.
When it comes to a lot of the business programs that we offer, we do a return on investment, and we also do leveraging ratios, which shows a very positive private financial investment in comparison to any county investment that there is. In addition, and I think it was mentioned in the video, when there's improvements in parks and in neighborhoods, the property taxes, are improved in those areas, and the areas come up. the economic mobility just continues to rise with all of these different investments. And that's why we really stress that we're looking at all residents. We're looking at all kinds of businesses and raising all and improving all types of workforce, internships and trainings and things of that nature, so that every resident in the county can be helped and their living conditions can be improved.
Understand. Maybe afterwards, I don't know if you have such kind of analysis or report. I'd be really interested in looking at it.
I'm sorry.
I'd like to see some of the data as it relates to the returns that we're getting in the various programs that we're offering, and if you're looking at employment or income or improvements in property values or whatever it is that what our goals are. I'd really be interested in understanding through the data as to what's going on.
We have some of that data now, and I think that one of our continuing metrics at your request is to look at some of the other things that we do and track that data a little bit more closely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Marino?
Thank you. First, I'd just like to say I'm impressed with all of the components of these presentations, and I know that I look forward to seeing all of them because I know we've been cut short after a few workshops. So I do appreciate you doing all of this. This is a lot of work, and it's a lot of time and effort. And I do want to do a little bit of a personal shout out to the Parks and Rec Department. I have to, I'm the athlete. I got to do that. I love our Parks and Rec Department, and I love the fact that we have over 100 parks around the county. But we did the rededication of the Limestone Creek Park last week in an area that really needs a park, and the cooperation and collaboration between our Parks Department and the residents and the residents organization that supports it and the schools in the area and the Edna W. Runner Tutorial Center, it was very evident. And to see the kids in a safe environment with all of the new playground equipment and the fact that we now have a full-size basketball court, you really focused on what the needs of the community were, and I appreciate you. I appreciate the county getting that done.
Thank you, and Eric Call is in the back there, and under his
Eric was there. He said a couple words. Thank you, Eric.
Commissioner McKinley?
Thank you. First, a compliment. I want to thank you, Sherry, because I feel like you're the fourth person in my office. You mentioned, Mayor, that we can't be two places at once. So when people call my office and have questions about project proposals, I say, well, I'm going to have you meet with Sherry Howard. Oh, Sherry, can you join me in this meeting? Can you be on this Zoom? And she's always there and always has really good technical advice to offer people. And you do everything you can to try to make something work. So thank you for that. One comment, one question. The question is, are you starting to see in terms of your collaboration with the Business Development Board, hesitations about companies relocating here because their average worker, not their upper management, but their average worker that's supposed to try to find a place to live here can't afford to live here?
Absolutely, and in our partnership with the Business Development Board and conversations with Kelly Smallridge, she has definitely mentioned that she hears the same types of comments.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's getting exacerbated very, very quickly. And then my last comment is to you and to Todd and to Virginia. These presentations are fantastic. And there's so many opportunities to blend some of the goals in here with our annual state and federal legislative agendas. We can talk all we want here, but the attacks that we get from Tallahassee will really affect how we are able to reach our goals. And so making sure that component of our county services is incorporated into these plans, I think will help us develop a healthier, more realistic legislative agenda in the future. So thank you for this. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. And before I recognize Commissioner Sachs, I want to interject on the same subject of affordable and workforce housing. That was one of the top items that we brought forward when we were up in Tallahassee, working with our state delegation, telling them that we are being strangled by the fact that workers can't find an affordable place to live here, and companies are not coming because they're afraid that they're not going to have a workforce. We need to work on this more than just taking this up to Tallahassee and dropping it in their laps. And, you know, County Administrator, I know that we have talked about this a great deal, but I think that we need to start thinking outside the box on this. And I saw an article just recently about Miami starting to build no-profit condos. And it's an idea that I think that, you know, certainly I'm sure you're going to tell me that, you know, this is an urban area problem, and of course we are not in the urban areas, we're in the suburban and rural areas, but this is not a problem that's going away. And affordable and workforce housing is going to strangle us if we can't get our hands around it. And the articles this week in the Sun Sentinel and the Palm Beach Post said that the median cost of housing now is $500,000. The average is $1 million. Now, that's skewed by some stuff that's over on the island right now, but that says that your middle manager can't afford to live in Palm Beach County. And we need to do something about that. And I don't know what the answer is, but before I got on to this commission, I had taken a trip up with the Economic Council to a purpose-built community up in North Carolina, and there are out-of-box solutions that we need to get our hands around. So we are challenged by this. The good news is this is a place where everybody wants to live. The bad news is they can't afford to. So we need to do something about that. And I think that this is a great presentation. Economic development is something that we are doing great things with. Green K, I just came back from a visit there thanks to Mr. Bonlaren, and was blown away by that park and by the way that resilience and recreation can go hand in hand. And it really is a perfect example of what we can do to build this community and create a place where we can have clean water and beautiful recreational amenities. But we need to be thinking about workforce housing so that we can have people live here and do it affordably.
Do you want me to say anything?
Commissioner Sachs, your turn.
If I could, I think I just saw Commissioner Bernard put his light on, and I bet he had something to say about what you just said. If I may just give my priority to Commissioner Bernard, and then I'd love to speak up, because I'm going to talk about parks. And not,
Okay, you
okay?
yielded your
If I
time
could, thank
to
you.
Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I was waiting to have the conversation on the housing piece, but you opened it. But, you know, when we go into the workshop, I looked at some of the slides and presentation. We've wasted so much dollars on housing, and I looked at the slides, and I think that we really, really need to have a true approach to address housing, workforce housing, and affordable housing. Whatever that we're doing right now, it's not working. It's just atrocious what's really happening with the taxpayers' dollars in terms of housing from the presentation that we're about to receive later on. We've got to, as a board, really tackle housing and really give directions on how do we create these housing opportunities for our residents. The money that I've seen that's wasted in terms of from the presentation that we're going to get, it's not helping our residents in this county. We have over 100,000 units that we're short, and for the past 10 years, we've just really wasted the dollars and really squandered so many opportunities to create true housing opportunities for our residents. So I look forward to having a discussion on housing later on.
Thank you, Commissioner Bernard. And certainly, I guess we all agree that this is something that we all need to figure out how it's a finger in the dike for what we've done so far. And we can't change the market forces. And obviously, the market forces are at work here. But I agree with you. We have to rethink this. Commissioner Sachs, you are back on deck.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank Commissioner Bernard for his very strong words on affordable housing. And if I may suggest that maybe we conduct a workshop, because I know that the cities are very involved. The cities here in Palm Beach County are very involved with affordable housing and workforce housing. We as a county should be very much informed as to what the cities are doing so that we can coordinate. And it is an issue, as you said, Mayor, that's not going away. It's only going to get worse. So possibly we should maybe think about putting together a workshop where we work with the League of Cities and think about and work on and plan and execute ways and places where we can promote affordable housing and workforce housing. Now, that's not what I was intending to say, but after listening to you and Mayor and to Commissioner Bernard, I think that we're at the beginning of the year, and we can possibly put a date down where we can have the study, this cross-departmental review that we had today. Ms. Baker is excellent, but now it's a call for action. We've seen it, we know it, we hear about it, and let's do something about it. So that's my suggestion, Mayor. If you want to follow through, I would appreciate it. But what I wanted to talk about was parks. And it was very interesting, and thank you, Eric Hall. You're always coming into my office ready to discuss one park that we have in the Ag Reserve that is a secret treasure that we need, and you're very good in helping us to really promote this park, put some money into it, and that is the park that is the end on Atlantic Avenue. Most people don't even know that Atlantic Avenue extends beyond 441. But if you continue west on Atlantic Avenue, it ends at a beautiful county park. It's a little treasure. And Ms. Howard, what you said was very interesting and really motivated me to say something about it, because you said that what a park will do to a community is to increase their economic development. And that's interesting. I never thought of that before. So as Mr. Call and all of us work on developing these parks, especially the one, our little secret treasure, West Delray Park, Ms. Howard, I think that what your words said are going to come true, because we're going to revitalize this really depressed area west of 441 and make it into a crown jewel, I hope, for all the families that are growing and making the Ag Reserve their home. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Call. And Mr. Mayor, I'll give you something to think about with this beginning of the year. Let's execute. Our staff has done amazing work in putting this cross-departmental review together, and now possibly it's up to us to make sure something happens. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner McKinley.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to congratulate staff on moving so absolutely quickly on that workshop request on affordable housing that we have it in 25 minutes. Thank you.
Okay.
If I could also just say, we have some great tools in the state of Florida that can identify the economic impact of park installations. And Eric Call was actually on the committee that developed that software, and it's a really useful tool in Parks and Recreation.
Very good. Thank you. County Administrator, you've heard our plea for some conversation time about workforce housing, and I think that we need to have an opportunity to have a more thorough discussion about this at a point in time in the future.
After our remaining two strategic sessions this afternoon comes the workforce affordable housing that we're going to talk about. And it's as most of you know, is a passion of mine. We've been pushing, and we're at a point where we're going to have to make some very, very difficult decisions that some parts of our community may not like, but if we're going to remain a sustainable and viable community, we're going to have to make these decisions. We've been talking about this issue, and I agree, for a very long time. We made incremental differences, but it is going to take more than the county and municipal governments. It is going to take the entire community, and that includes the business community, to come to the table to solve this particular issue. And so we're going to do our part this afternoon, get some direction from you. Then we're going to move forward with working with pulling together other municipal housing components with the counties as well as the housing authorities. Then we'll bring in the business community, which our particular group is now working with the Housing Leadership Council, which Commissioner Bernard brought up at a previous meeting. We were already at the table, but we're taking a more aggressive role in that particular item as well. We're going to lay out the fact that we have utilized federal programs. We're utilizing those programs, but we must follow their rules and regulations. I did have a conversation with the Secretary of HUD staff on yesterday and then again this morning because we're trying to get in to see her and her staff in February when we go up for NACO's fly-in. In addition to that, as part of our economic summit, that particular department is one of the departments we're focused on because of the issues we've got here in Palm Beach County, in the entire state, because the rural communities are also having this housing challenge. And we're also looking at transportation as a part of it because all of that ties together. And so I know since 2000 we have been pushing this issue. 2005 we pushed this issue. We created the workforce housing program. We did take some teeth out when the market crashed. Those teeth never went back in. And so again, this is a problem for the community. It is not just a problem for Palm Beach County government or city government. It is all of our issue in order to remain a sustainable and viable community.
Thank you. And, as you know, again, we were up at Tallahassee together, but the Economic Council was there with us. Art Menner has embraced the issue, understanding that business is, again, being strangled by the cost of housing here. And, we're talking about a lot of things here today, but hydroponics impacts this because that is a better utilization of land. Density bonuses is something we need to talk about, even though it's a third rail every time we talk about it. And like you said, mobility, we need to be able to move people around. And we can't put them out in the glades. We have to put them in a place where they can get to their work, get to places where they want to shop, their other services. So this is not an easy fix, but like Commissioner Bernard said, we're not doing a great job so far, and maybe we can redouble our efforts and invest in better places. Okay. Ready to move on to the next?
Yeah, next we have Public Safety, cross-departmental team.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and Administrator Baker. Stephanie Shanahaw, Director of Public Safety. Presenting with me today is Jimmy Davis, Director of Aquatics for Parks and Recreation, Doug Crane, Director of Libraries, and Dr. Casey Messer, Program Manager for Community Services. We are excited to be here today to share with you our efforts on the Public Safety Cross-Departmental Team. The presentation is truly a team effort, and I would like to ask our team members to stand and be recognized. Well, we have most of them back at their offices. Back at their offices watching from Channel 20, so thank you all for their efforts. It truly was a team presentation, and their dedication on this team was wonderful. But it follows in line with our Keeping You Safe campaign motto that we'll be introducing shortly. Our team's goals are the following. 1, prepare for, respond to, and recover from all emergencies. 2, ensure the overall safety of our community. 3, improve the overall health of our community. And 4, improve the overall well-being of our community. Towards the end of our presentation, we will provide updates on this team's efforts with each of our 4 goals, but before that, we would like to share with you what our team focused on this year. We continue to address public safety needs in our community. But this year, we wanted to emphasize awareness, which is a critical component to public safety for the following reasons. 1, by increasing public awareness, we can improve public safety. 2, a prepared community is a safe community. 3, communicating awareness is essential for the public to be better prepared. 4, having a harmonized message is a key element to avoid confusion. And 5, a clearly understood message is the foundation of changed behavior to avoid complacency. Therefore, our focus this year was public safety awareness, which is key to the team achieving our 4 goals mentioned in the prior slide. To increase public safety awareness, this year, the team, along with the help of Public Affairs Channel 20, developed the Keeping You Safe campaign. Here's a short clip on some of the work produced this year for the Keeping You Safe campaign.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Shanahan, Director of Palm Beach County's Public Safety Department. And I'm Regina Herring, Executive Director of the Palm Beach County Criminal Justice Commission. We are co-leaders of the Public Safety Cross-Departmental Team and excited to share with you how our departments, along with many others, are working together to keep you safe.
Ensuring your safety is one of the county's 6 priorities. Public Safety Cross-Departmental Team is part of a larger effort by the Board of County Commissioners and County Administration to improve our services to you in the areas of public safety. So many departments providing safety-related services to our public have teamed up to better coordinate how these services are delivered to you.
Public safety is about your safety. So, to ensure you, as residents, employees, or even family, understand how we are addressing public safety across the county, we are inviting you to view a series of exciting discussions with various county employees from about 15 departments that make up this Public Safety Cross-Departmental Team. These departments are working together to ensuring the safety of our residents and community.
That's right, Stephanie. The Public Safety Cross-Departmental Team is one of 6 cross-departmental teams created to address the county's strategic priorities, which are economic development, housing and homelessness, environmental protection, infrastructure, substance use and behavioral disorders, and lastly, public safety, which the primary focus is to simply keep you safe.
County Connection starts now.
It all starts with even before you pack up the car. These people that look to take your belongings, it's not their first roundabout. They are very good at what they do. You almost have to do what I like to call prevent window shopping in your vehicle. If I'm gonna run into the store and I just need my wallet, I'll put a few of my belongings in the seat next to me and I'll just put a sweater or a towel over it. They see that and they think, what's in that seat that they're trying to hide?
Are we paying attention to our students, giving them a place where they have an outlet where they can talk? And we have to partner. And from the Aware and Care, we have so many subject matter experts that are there. You have faculty from Florida Atlantic University, experts from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. And those are the teams that you have to put together in order to have early intervention and to prevent this mass violence.
Currently, we have 19,895 fire hydrants that we maintain on a yearly basis. Additionally, we are required to flow test 6,500 fire hydrants annually. We do 1/3 every year. If a vehicle strikes a fire hydrant, you have a number to call. The number is 561-740-4600.
Sometimes just letting things out, you can either use writing to write out what you're stressed about, overwhelmed about, or look at it a different way and write down positive things that you're grateful for. Because writing is a great outlet when we start to feel overwhelmed.
So the badge is actually good for 5 years. And during the time that the badge is in the possession of the home caregiver, we're monitoring that. So should there be an arrest or a disqualifying offense appear, we would be able to administratively suspend that badge.
It can be very difficult to explain to someone
where you're at on the beach. If an emergency happens and you see a blue condo and you're trying to call 911 or someone that's trying to find you, oh, I'm south of the blue condo. Well, how far south? Which blue condo? So the beach access numbers it's almost like having an address at the beach.
Water Utilities Department has what we call raw water, drinking water wells all around the county. Each of those wells draws water depending on how big the pump is and how deep the well is. The reason we need to protect that is if there's like an industrial or commercial individual or company working above that well field, if there's any spill, any leak, that leak is going to go down into the aquifer and get pulled by the wells into the drinking water supply.
All right, we hope you enjoyed the short clip, which was just a glimpse of the work that was done this year for our team's Keeping You Safe campaign. The chart in this slide shows the lineup of the episodes for 2021 that are airing on Channel 20. From these full episodes that lasted from about 30 minutes to an hour, short clips were created providing various safety tips and are being shared on all social media platforms. For the month of August, co-leaders of the Public Safety Cross-Departmental Team, myself and Regina Herring, were highlighted on the cover of Channel 20's program guide featuring the Keeping You Safe campaign and the episode for Back to School Month. Now I'd like to turn it over to Jimmy Davis to discuss the Keeping You Safe episodes and the total number of people reached through our Keeping You Safe campaign. Jimmy?
Thank you, Stephanie. Good morning, Commissioners. This first video was our first episode of the Keeping You Safe campaign, hosted by Stephanie Shanawa and co-hosted by myself, Jimmy Davis. The episode interviewed Anna Stewart with the Drowning Prevention Coalition of Fire Rescue. We discussed the voucher program for free or reduced swim lessons, where to register, and tips for staying safe around the water. Next, we interviewed Ocean Rescue Lieutenant Chase Robertson, where we learned about rip currents, marine life safety, and beach condition flags. We also interviewed Park Ranger Colleen Kesich, who provided tips on protecting your valuables, staying safe in our parks at nighttime, and if you see something, to say something. Just in time for back to school, the August episode focused on topics such as walking and biking to school safely, internet safety, stress management, and tutoring support. Tammy Fields, Ike Powell, and Dr. Essence Rivers of Youth Services collaborated with Adam Davis of the libraries. For this episode, the Water Utilities Department discussed how they team up with other Palm Beach County departments to address public safety. Representing the driver's training team were Matt Devine, Wood Safety Coordinator, and Gene Held, Manager of Loss Control of Risk Management. They spoke about the implementation of several programs to ensure Wood drivers are fully trained and monitored. Bobby Dowler, Utility Line Crew Chief, and Drew Hacker, Fire Inspector, discussed what occurs during hydrant maintenance and repairs and how they ensure the fire department is kept in a loop. Representing the Wellfield Protection Team were Stephen Brown, Woods Regulatory Compliance Coordinator, and John Reiser, ERM's Environmental Program Supervisor. They discussed the purpose of the Wellfield Protection Program and how they protect the county's water wells. Nicole Gums, PE, responsible for the reuse program at Woods, sat down with Bobby Seals with the Parks Department, who manages the Green Cay Nature Center. They chatted about how they recharge the aquifer at Green Cay and the Wakota-Hatchie wetlands, utilizing reuse water produced by Wood. They also spoke about the Green Cay 2 project. October was Crime Prevention Month, and this episode was hosted by Stephanie Shanawa and Regina Herring. They shared crime prevention tips and programs the county has in place to reduce crime in Palm Beach County. Chief Javaro Sims, president of Palm Beach County's Association of Chiefs of Police, and Chief Sean Brammer, chair of CJC's Law Enforcement Planning Council, shared how they work with various agencies to prevent crime and keep our community safe. Public Safety's Consumer Affairs Director, Rob Schelt, and Sergeant Kelly White from PBSO discussed how the county's home caregiver program protects the elderly. Public Safety's Victim Service Director, Nicole Bishop, and Laura Cusack from the Human Trafficking Coalition shared how they work together to combat human trafficking. The Keeping You Safe campaign, social media campaign began August 6, 2021, and was shared by various departments on their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram outlets. And as of December 22nd, 2021, we had 10,702 followers. That number continues to grow daily. As part of our team's ongoing effort to collaborate and coordinate information, we consolidated all of our metrics associated with public safety awareness. The public safety awareness metrics were broken down into 5 categories: awareness activities performed, social media interactions, people reached, awareness tools used, and the satisfaction rate. The vision of combining our metrics allows us to review data as a whole and identify any strengths, weaknesses, or opportunities across all departments. Now I'd like to turn it over to Doug Crane to discuss our team's goals.
Good morning, Commissioners. The remainder of this presentation will provide an update on our team's 4 goals and some of the metrics within each department that were developed as part of our strategic plan to collectively show our progress towards each goal and how county funds are spent. Our first goal is prepare for, respond to, and recover from all emergencies. Palm Beach County continues to lead in COVID-19 response and recovery awareness with an unprecedented number of press conferences, PSAs, and daily press updates. 1.3 million households were provided masks by mail as of December 31st, and a little over 1 million people in Palm Beach County have been vaccinated. Some department COVID-19 collaborations are pictured above. This includes community services and libraries partnering to use study rooms to expand access to CARES Act financial assistance and support services in the community. Parks and Recreation adjusted and increased virtual mindfulness and outdoor activities with social distancing, hosted COVID-19 vaccination testing and monoclonal therapy treatment sites, and provided locations for community food distribution along with the libraries. Public Safety Division of Emergency Management maintains an EOC activation level 3 for COVID-19, as well as continuing to educate the community on hurricane preparedness over the past year. As was mentioned by the Substance Use and Behavior Disorders team, our community members' mental health and wellness has inevitably been compromised during this difficult time. In response, Youth Services Department continued to meet with the needs of families and promote resilience by offering free therapy services through a telemental health platform and resumed in-person therapy and in-school therapies. And in 2021, the department responded to 1,774 new service requests for telemental health sessions. To address Goal 2, ensure overall safety of our community, Fire Rescue continues to maintain a response time quicker than the highest acceptable industry standard, even dealing with the impacts of COVID-19. The Mobile Integrated Health Program served almost 4,000 patients, with almost 1,700 of those served through the addiction program. This slide shows the average daily population in the county jail over the past 5 years, and note it has consistently declined below the baseline of 2,283. At the onset of the pandemic, the numbers began to drop significantly. This could in part be attributed to shutdowns and the judicial administrative order to reduce bonds for certain felonies from $3,000 to $1,000. This slide provides a deeper look into the population data by race and ethnicity over that same 5-year period. The bookings by race show a unique trend during this time. The ADP for whites consistently declined, the Latino populations were relatively the same, but had continuously widened for blacks. Felony and misdemeanor bookings over the past 6 years have continued to decline, and interestingly, the top crimes for each are distinctly different. Over the past 2 years, the top misdemeanor bookings were for failures to appear, battery, trespass, and resisting an officer. However, drug possession, violation of probation, burglary, and weapons led in felony admissions. The number of service requests coming from the public to animal care and control has been lower than usual, allowing for faster response times for all types of calls as shown in the graph. The animal control officers spend a significant amount of their time providing education and resources on keeping pets and people together rather than surrendering them to shelters. Ocean Rescue, as you saw on the slide, takes a proactive approach to educating the public about potential hazards prior to the individual needing assistance. This graph shows that the number of preventative actions taken by lifeguards in 2020, the beaches were closed for a significant time, thus decreasing the contact staff had with beach visitors. Consumer Affairs and Victim Services bring awareness to human trafficking. Victim Services held a red sand event where red sand was spread to bring awareness to human trafficking, with the grains of sand representing those individuals falling through the cracks. And in 2021, Consumer Affairs increased the knowledge of 1,413 adult entertainment license applicants about human trafficking by providing resources and ways to report. A victim indicator point card was also provided to all vehicle for hire drivers. Dr. Messer will now update you on the remaining goals.
Thank you, Doug. Good morning. To address Goal 3, improve the overall health of our community. In 2020, Palm Beach County embarked on a 10-year initiative to end the HIV epidemic by 2030. HIV viral suppression rates are the best health indicator for HIV care in the community. When a person is virally suppressed, HIV is undetectable and HIV cannot be transmitted to another person. Undetectable equals untransmittable. The chart on the left visualizes HIV viral suppression rates for the county over the past 6 years. As you can see, the viral suppression rates for persons with HIV who received services from the county's Ryan White program is consistently 20% higher than the general population. An increase in viral suppression translates into fewer HIV diagnoses, represented in the graph on the right. To be successful with ending the HIV epidemic, we need the number of new HIV diagnoses to be less than 70 by 2025. Awareness and training improves the overall health of the community. An example of these efforts can be seen through the training opportunities and community events provided by the Youth Services Department from FY17 through FY21. In FY20 and 21, multiple sessions were given on racial ethnic implicit bias and microaggressions, and these sessions continue to be in high demand. In FY20, trainings were provided on the virtual platform, thus increasing the reach to participants even during the height of the pandemic. This hybrid model of training will remain in place due to its positive outcomes. To address Goal 4, improving the overall well-being of our community. Florida legislature unanimously approved House Bill 673, Gale's Law, which requires that FDLE create and maintain the database for sexual assault kits, and that database tracks the location, processing status, and storage of each evidence kit. In 2021, 68% of all sexual assault victims had their exams performed at the Butterfly House at Wellington Regional Medical Center, while victim services staff provided an average of 13.4 separate service encounters for each victim of violent crimes. Animal Care and Control has worked very hard to control pet populations and increase the number of successful adoptions. They have maintained the live release rates for cats and dogs at 81% and 91% respectively. New strategies are being developed to provide solutions to increase number of spay and neuter surgeries and vaccinations each year. The CJC continued the work of hosting community policing forums across the county. A total of 9 forums were held in different regions of PBC. These forums led to more intimate community and policing dialogues within these same 9 regions between residents and criminal justice professionals. Difficult conversations were held, bonds were created, and actionable work materialized to address system reforms. Cooperative Extension provides free nutrition education classes to both adults and youth. Cumulatively, 7,764 people received nutrition education in 2019. In 2020, 5,085 people participated in the program, with 4,248 youth specifically engaged in nutrition education. Since July of this year, when both programs were allowed to resume classes, already 3,881 people have been reached through Extension's food and nutrition outreach effort. Through June 2021, PZB's Building Division issued 61,906 permits, conducted 164,069 inspections for a total value of $2.5 billion. The county's Building Division continues to rank among the best in the nation, with a building code effectiveness grading schedule rating of 2 on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the highest. Palm Beach County's community rating system of 5 results in a 25% discount in NFIP flood insurance rates. A CRS rating is based on evaluating a community's management of development in the floodplain. The Building Division activities provide an important regulatory foundation to the infrastructure team's goals as presented earlier. The Youth Service Department's Family Violence Intervention Program was developed as a diversion program to focus on the unique problems of each family whose child has committed domestic violence. Upon successful completion, the youth's charges are dropped and their record is expunged. In 2021, 143 youth were diverted to the program and 77 successfully completed. This program was the recipient of a National Association of Counties Award. This concludes our updates on goals 1 through 4. In addition to the Keeping You Safe campaign mentioned earlier, we wanted to share other public safety awareness efforts that are going on in your county departments. And since we are limited with time, a supplemental package was provided to you highlighting this work. As for next steps for our team, circling back to why we focused on public safety awareness this year, we also plan to expand upon satisfaction assessments within our community to determine the effectiveness of our outreach efforts. Is our community better prepared? Is our messaging consistent across departments? And did we change behaviors to avoid complacency? We will also continue to update the cross-departmental team metrics and combine other types of metric categories, such as response and recovery, to determine the public safety cross-departmental team's overall outcomes. This ends the Public Safety Cross-Departmental Team's presentation. Our team is appreciative of your time, attention, and support. We will answer any questions you may have for us at this time. Thank you very much.
We certainly do appreciate that presentation. Are there any questions? Okay. Vice Mayor Weiss, you're first up.
Thank you. Thank you. Excellent presentation. I mean, this was really comprehensive, and you covered, I mean, so many areas. But a couple of things, something on animal care and control, and I see I have to say big improvements throughout, on so many of these areas where have been obtained. But in looking at your response times, is there, I mean, obviously, is it a people issue, a staffing issue to be able to cut these times down further? Is that what it would take?
Yeah, so currently we're dealing with a staffing issue and response times and just the call volume itself that we have. Typically, we carry over several hundred calls daily, but we tend to the emergencies. Those are our priority. The numbers are not what we want them to be as far as our metrics goes, and we're also reevaluating our metrics to see if our goal is appropriate, but we also look at industry standards and what the typical response time should be for an emergency. And I can tell you that last year the response time was reduced just due to the mere fact of COVID and people being able to be home with their pets and keep them locked up. But we're seeing that obviously increase over time as people are starting to go back to work and get out in the community and leaving their animals home.
Okay, and then on the incarceration or jail population rates and so forth, in the presentation talked about the misdemeanors primarily are failure to appears, so people that are being held because they were released to the community and then didn't go to court when they were supposed to, so they end up there. And I'm not certain if there are strategies that we can utilize to try and improve people showing up when they're supposed to, or trying to understand why they're not able to get? Is it a transportation issue? Is it because they're going to work? Is it, I don't know, are people?
So this is something that was put together last year, and I believe it's in place right now. We have a failure to appear notice that goes to their cell phone, and we've seen a significant improvement. That's another set of data that I can certainly send to you. I don't have the specifics right now, but what we're finding is that app or that notice that goes to their cell phone is reminding them. And it was basically a matter of just reminding them that they have an appointment, they need to show up. And so the goal is to reduce those FTAs by that, as well as, communications and follow-up phone calls and things of that nature.
Is there an opportunity for people to go to court during non-business hours in the evening or on Saturdays, so people that are working, don't, I'm assuming a lot of people don't have benefits that they can just take a day off and, continue to be paid?
Yeah, they're open they're open every day, 365 days a year. I don't know as far as the scheduling goes for, their appearance in court. It's my understanding that they try to accommodate them as best as they can, with transportation, et cetera, and making, that appointment time to a time that they can actually appear. But I do know that they're open, every day, the court, when it comes to first appearance.
Right. I know first appearance is open, but if somebody's being scheduled back to court because, and then they miss that, so then it becomes an FTA, they get picked up and then we incarcerate them and hold them until we can get them into court. And just I assume some people just blow it off and don't care, but I'm sure there's probably a subset of the people that, are weighing the balance of going to work and, being able to, pay for whatever they need, their living expenses in going to court. I mean, it's something, I don't know if you guys have explored that with.
Yeah, I would have to get with CJC on the app that was implemented, and then also I know that our supervised own recognizance office, our SOR, does work with the individuals, and if they communicate and let us know that it's an accommodation issue.
I mean,
Here she is.
Okay, well, and half the population in the jail is there on misdemeanors, and so I mean it's a big portion.
Regina?
Good afternoon, good morning, we're still in the morning session.
We're still morning.
Good morning. Yes, you're correct. A lot of what we're finding is a lot of the individuals that we're seeing incarcerated are your lower level offenses. That's one of the things that we're doing with the MacArthur Foundation. As you can see, the last time I think we came and we talked about the mobile probation bus, that was also a measure to help reduce some of those FTAs. Which are a lot of times are your failure to appear for violation of probation.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner McKinley.
Thanks, Mayor. Actually, Vice Mayor Weiss and I are on the same wavelength this morning. I had failure to appear with a couple of asterisks on there. And so, just to expand on the questions that he's already asked, have we looked into continuing, and I guess this is a question for the CJC, have we looked into continuing the use of video technologies instead of trying to get somebody to drive down to the courthouses?
Well, that's, we did reinstate our court systems task force, and those are types of issues we need to address. That's something that's really comes out of court administration. But I agree with you, we have to look outside of the box because the pandemic is not, we're still dealing with that issue. So that is something we can bring to them as a request from the board, that we look at some alternatives.
Okay, and are we, with the regional courthouses we have around the county, are we able to schedule their appearances at the courthouse closest to them? And if not, are we able to provide a video opportunity where they could show up at the closest courthouse and just have their appearance video fed into a courtroom downtown?
That's one of the projects. That falls under court administration, but that is one of the projects under our court systems task force that we are looking at the case processing and its impact. And so how they schedule the courts and the cases, it's by, I'm not sure if you know, by division, and it's by criminal or civil divisions. So they were doing virtual courtroom sessions when the pandemic was very active. They've since went back to in person, and I'm not sure if they're doing some virtual, but I think it's mostly in person now. But that's something that is worth looking at.
Okay.
We can present back to them.
It would probably be worth it to look at, some of those American Rescue Plan dollars that we received can be used to reduce court backlogs. And if there's a way to utilize some of those funds for technology that would allow somebody to stand in a courtroom or a video room in Belgrade, but have their video fed into a courtroom in West Palm Beach, that would be a technology I think we should look into investing in. And then my other comment would be to make sure that we're including Tri-Rail and PalmTran in this conversation to see if there's opportunities for grant dollars to provide bus passes or train passes to make those that are transportation challenged, make it easier for them to get to where they need to be.
We do that for our front-end court pretrial services. We do provide those individuals to come to the court so that they don't miss bus passes.
Okay, and it's not just those that are housed in our jails. I mean, I've got an experience helping a young mother try to navigate the dependency court system and obliged by her case plan. And you were looking at a young mother trying to get her kids back that had no less than 20 different appointments a week. And had it not been for the use of technology during COVID in 2020, probably would never have been able to meet all of those requirements to get her kids back. So it's not just the criminal justice program, but it's the family court system that needs that help too. And I know we've got a very talented member of our commission representing us on the CJC. So hopefully Commissioner Kerner will take some of these points back. And then Stephanie, my last comment, your presentation is like my baby. All of the things I love and care about, 90% of them are in this presentation that you made. Mental health. Navigating this system, I mean, if you're on Medicaid, trying to find somebody, a psychiatrist or a psychologist that will accept your Medicaid to try to get an appointment, trying to figure out what therapist does this and does that, when you need to see a therapist, when you need to see a psychologist, when you need to see a psychiatrist. It's so complicated. Do we have any sort of central clearinghouse where somebody can go and just check some boxes and figure out the best way to get the services that they need?
Outside of our department, I'm not familiar. I know that we work on very different aspects in each department when it comes to mental health, whether it be victim services. I do know internally we do have resources that we can refer them to. I know that many of the issues that people are dealing with, for example, in trouble with have committed crimes, are related to mental health, or a victim of a crime is related in a way to mental health. I mean, I can refer. To my knowledge, we don't. I mean, unless Ms. Baker can answer this, I don't think we have a central clearinghouse. I mean, I know for youth we do. If there's youth that have an issue with mental health, our youth services department provides the resources to them in school and out of school. But I'm not aware of anything that we have as a central clearinghouse for a person to come through.
Well, I think we've seen tremendous successes in the other areas that we have consolidated services into the 211. The homeless resource centers, even our food banks, our 911 consolidated dispatch. I mean, anytime that you can consolidate that where somebody has to make one call and there's a navigator there that can help pull them through all of those different systems and get them to the place they need to be, because I can tell you people will give up, and that's when we end up seeing them in our jails. So anything that we can do as a county to bring those partners together to try to make it easier for somebody seeking those services to find the most appropriate services?
Commissioners, there is an effort, Tammy Fields from Youth Services, there is an effort through the healthcare district for exactly that. It's called Unite Us. They're creating a database. They were going full speed ahead and COVID hit, and now they're reactivating, trying to get all of the various different providers within the community to be part of this database so that the referrals can go seamlessly from agency to agency, and there would be a clearinghouse for individuals to access. So it is something that is in the works through the healthcare district, and it's not limited just to mental health services, but other services as well, health-related services.
Okay, and I really think we need to be looking into all of those families that are on Medicaid that keep getting told, we can't help you, we don't take your insurance, and they can't afford it and they desperately need it.
I personally worked with a family member trying to maneuver Medicaid. They don't talk to each other. It is very frustrating. And you're absolutely correct. People get frustrated and they just stop. And that doesn't help anyone. We are working with the healthcare district, trying to pull this, these entities together. But our community services department also plays a significant role. We contract with a number of mental health agencies in order so we can refer individuals to those. But your point of trying to consolidate, we're trying to do that as much as possible. I think our partnership we're trying to work through the healthcare district now is going to assist us greatly in that regard. But again, health is a tricky issue, and they don't talk to any and everyone about what's going on because some of it is protected through HIPAA. But your point is well taken, and we have been working on this for a while. I know that Community Services works with a lot of other entities where we refer people to them. But to work through the Medicaid system, I would need a significant number of employees to do nothing but that all day long.
Well, Ms. Baker, thank you for speaking up. It gives me a chance to make one more point. Let's lead by example. Our county health insurance program is out for RFP, and let's make sure that there's a concerted effort to make mental health services more accessible, more affordable for our employees. Having a mental health visit be a $40 copay instead of a $20 one is financially out of reach for most of our employees.
We will be looking at all of those options.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think you've covered so many different areas. One I would like to find out, animal care control was under the leadership of Diane Swaz for many years. She did an amazing job. And I hear they have a very good, very impressive new CEO of that organization. But do we still use vans in our communities to reach out to folks who have animals, pet animals, to spay and neuter?
So years ago, good question. Years ago, we used to do mobile spay neutering, and we have found that it's much more effective bringing the animals to us and/or having a location where we can set up shop to actually do the mobile spay neuter, and a lot because the van only holds so many animals. So we've done different efforts in the county, whether it's Beat the Heat that was just performed last weekend, or other efforts that we've done. They call it Op Around the Clock. So we're trying to actually engage more and get our partners involved, such as our trappers, because the cat population is one of our main concerns. But we've found that it's just more efficient use of not only time but county taxpayer dollars to not have the mobile spay units be driving around to pick up animals. We either set up shop at a location where they're maybe hit the hardest, or we house them at our shelter for the day, and then they pick them up when the surgery is completed.
I would be very interested too, and I'm going to have must schedule a tour there at Animal Care and Control, because I think that I thought it was a very, very effective way to go to some of our communities that I used to represent that were unable or didn't have the time or really just wasn't on their priority to bring the dog in and to your facility, which is, in West Palm Beach, to have the animal spayed or neutered. So, and the whole feral cat situation is, of course, presents itself as an issue. So maybe I'll come in and talk to you all about what we can do to make that economically feasible. I know Dr. Butzer used to always donate his time, volunteer his time to do this. Make it economically feasible for us as a county to take care of these many animals out there and families who just, that's not their biggest priority, is to take the dog down and have them neutered. So we'll discuss that.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like that. And also, just to kind of add, we do go into communities just with the mobile spay unit. That actual bus, it just doesn't accommodate as many animals. So what we try to do is find a facility that we can work out of.
We'll work on that.
So
We'll work on that.
we've have something that was postponed due to COVID, but we had something, and we call them hotspots, in areas where we find the most feral cats, or community cats, as you would call them, after they become spay-neutered. And we try to work with those municipalities, and or if it's an unincorporated, we try to, at least provide our services within that community to help
Maybe
them
we
out.
could work with some of the vet offices and clinics around the county, that they could volunteer their facility for the county to be able to work with families to spay and neuter their pets. Something I learned the other day is that I didn't know, and I've had pets ever since I've been here, is that every dog and cat in the community has to have a tag. I had no idea that we had to buy tags for all our little kitty cats, So that's interesting. I made sure I paid for so that my dogs are legal. But I think my biggest issue right now is just make sure that some of our communities have those services. Thank you. I look forward to that.
Thank you. Just to add, we're engaging in conversations with our vet community, and we have opened up some contracts with other animal societies here, and Peggy Adams and Tri-County as well, and we're trying to expand those efforts, as well as get private vets on board with helping out with our spay-neuter efforts. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have about exhausted that subject. Do we have another presentation?
Yes, next, one more.
Okay.
Last but not least, the infrastructure cross-departmental team.
Switch this over quick.
Okay, go ahead. Nope. Okay, a second.
It's on my phone.
We ready? Good morning, still morning. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, and County Administrator Baker. I am David Ricks, the County Engineer, co-leader of the Infrastructure Cross-Departmental Team. Also, co-leader is Ali Bayat from Water Utilities and Megan Houston from Office of Resilience. On behalf of my team, we're pleased to present you a brief overview on the amazing work we accomplished this year. The speakers, besides myself, be Jake Lease from Office of Resilience, Gene Meadows from Parks and Recreation, Archie Sacho from the ISSS Department, Gary Sybeck from Airports, and Clinton Fords from Palm Trans. And so, you can see our team, we've got a broad range of people involved in infrastructure across many platforms. And so I'm proud that our team is well diverse and maintain the foundations of our county. Next slide. One key aspect of our infrastructure in terms of the funding. And so you can see the pie chart. And it's a wide variety of sources in terms of capital funds, variety of departments. As you can see, that water utilities, 119 million, water engineering public works, 115 million, facilities and development operations, 80 million, and you can see the other departments associated. These projects are approved for fiscal year 2022, may not be fully executed in the fiscal year 2022 due to funds being related to infrastructure, the duration of some of these projects, can take more than a year to complete. Therefore, funding is carried over until the project is completed. In addition, some of the projects approved in the fiscal year may not even start till a few years later in order to gather the funding first. Every department is different, every project is different, so it won't be a blanket statement for them all, but you can get a broad overview in terms of the dollars. I'm talking about $400 million. Next slide. So, looking at our goals, this team the goals are dedication to providing the county stakeholders and residents with outstanding levels of service and quality of life. And these 4 goals are: 1, increase resiliency and sustainability of infrastructure; 2, continue to preserve existing infrastructure and deliver new infrastructure that conforms to the latest industry standards; and 3, create safe, healthy, and attractive neighborhoods and communities; and 4, increase multimodal travel opportunities with safe and efficient transportation services. I'll now pass over to Jake Leach from the Office of Resiliency. Jake?
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Good morning, Commission. Infrastructure is critical to life in the county, efficiently moving people, materials, energy, and information to wherever they are needed or wanted. Infrastructure is often taken for granted until it fails. That's why our first goal is keeping infrastructure resilient and sustainable. Applying for grant funding for infrastructure resilience has been a highly collaborative effort between several county departments, largely coordinated through this cross-departmental team. Palm Beach County was selected to receive Community Development Block Grant Mitigation funding through the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity this year. This funding supports hazard mitigation projects and planning efforts for critical facilities and infrastructure. The hazard risks addressed include flooding, severe storms, tropical cyclones, coastal erosion, and wildfires. This work follows on from the county's earlier work collaborating with 7 coastal municipalities on a smaller scale vulnerability assessment which was completed this year. County departments continue to work together to secure further funding, including from the FDEP Resilient Florida Grant Program, and the county's already been selected for some of those funds. And we will continue to seek funding for resilient infrastructure from all potential sources. Here we see the current sea level rise projections provided by the 4-county Regional Climate Compact and adopted by the county in 2020. As you saw earlier, the county has $394 million budgeted for 2022 capital projects. In April, the county published a PPM which formalizes consideration of resilience and sustainability in all county capital projects, including sea level rise. Staff will be working this year to complete a checklist and reporting requirements so that the county can efficiently monitor all of the great work that has previously occurred independently in different departments. Additionally, beginning in July, the state will require sea level rise studies on certain types of state-funded capital projects. Staff are working to incorporate these state requirements into the county's PPM requirements, including by leveraging the Sea Level Rise Risk Assessment tool, also known as the SLIP tool, which the state is providing. The county works hard to build and maintain sustainable facilities. A major cross-departmental initiative in sustainable infrastructure is the active conversion of certain lighting systems to LED. At the Vista Center, relamping and replacement allowed the installation of 208 LED lights in the parking garage, yielding significant reductions in energy usage and cost. There are future aspirations of installing a daylight harvesting system which detects ambient lighting levels, then automatically adjusts lamp illumination, resulting in decreased energy consumption and costs. At the new PBSO Forensic Sciences and Technology facility, FDO installed a new water-cooled walk-in cooler and freezer. The water-cooled technology reduces energy consumption as well as reducing the load on the building's HVAC system. We track operability of certain county facilities. In a worst-case scenario, system failures can cause operations at the facility to be suspended. In a less dire case, operations may be continued after an operational accommodation. For example, if the air conditioning fails in a building, mobile cooling units may be brought in. We aim for 0 hours of downtime across all FDO-managed buildings and facilities. And for operational suspension and partial operation, you can see that that goal was achieved in fiscal year 2021. The county has a multi-pronged strategy for electric vehicle infrastructure, both to promote this clean technology, but also to cater to this emerging market. EV chargers are available in the premium parking lot at Palm Beach International Airport, and they've also been installed for public and employee use at the governmental centre. We plan to add more at the convention centre in fiscal year 2022, and then at additional locations. Palmtran, which already runs hybrid buses, has incorporated charger infrastructure into their new southern bus depot in anticipation of the electric buses that they are planning to procure. Finally, plans to amend the code to require EV chargers or infrastructure at certain types of development were held up last year by changes to state law, but staff are moving forward to amend the proposed amendments to accommodate these changes. And with that, I'll turn you over to G. Matthews with Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Jake. Our second goal is to continue to preserve existing infrastructure, deliver new infrastructure, and conform to the latest industry standards. And that speaks to the county's forward-thinking mentality while also keeping in mind that quality is paramount.
Excuse me, I'm just going to ask you to get a little closer to the microphone. I know.
All right. The Parks and Recreation Department has identified 8 septic-to-sewer projects that are going to be funded with surtax and ARPA funds. These projects were originally identified for drain field replacements. What were adjusted is the department is strengthening resiliency in an effort to combat climate change. We have 4 additional parks that we've identified beyond the 8. 6 playgrounds were renovated in 2020, and an additional 14 playgrounds will be renovated in fiscal years 22 and 23 using surtax and grant funding. 16 sport lighting replacement projects were completed in fiscal year 2021. A total of $4.5 million was allocated to replace the existing lights with modern LED lights. The LED lights provide savings on utility costs and reduce spillover to adjacent communities. And with that, I'll turn it back to David.
Thank you, Jean. Above you on the slide, the FDO projects identified above aggregate to more than $125 million, which includes completing construction of a new PBSO, Forensic Science and Technology Facility, finishing with the expansion of Palmtran Southern County Administrative Building, and updating the county's convention center outdoor courtyard, or sky room as they call it. That's a picture of that. Although they're not as glamorous, also engineering and water utilities also completed projects that are just as important by completing bridge replacements, many miles of pipe upgrades, and over 250 miles of resurfacing of our roadways. Now, for libraries, the Department of Library has always been very busy this year, having just finished 2 complete renovations at the Latana and Wellington branches. The Wellington branch library had a soft opening to the public on November 9th, and the Latana branch opening was on 15 January. Both have updated floor plans, new LED lighting, and expanded digital media centers, among other updates. The brand new Canyon branch and Boynton Beach has a spring of 2022 construction start date, and the building is being built with a LED design and will be able to accept solar power and EV charging. Libraries has also installed digital messaging boards in every branch, sharing library services and activities, current and upcoming, and Palm Beach County public information provided by ISSS. And now to speak more on the amazing work that ISSS has done, Archie Sacho, their director.
Thank you, David. Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Administrator Baker. The county is continuing its initiative to bridging the digital divide. Funding allocated through the CARES Act allowed the county to expand its network infrastructure in several key areas, as is depicted by red on the heat map. With the ARPA funding approved by the board, the county will further expand its network infrastructure to additional vital areas as depicted in green on the heat map. This will allow us to successfully create and maintain a sustainable and long-term solution capable of addressing the issue of the digital divide and providing quality broadband to areas of need. According to the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, better access means that individuals and communities have the information technology capacity needed for full participation in society, democracy, and economy. Additionally, it is necessary for civic and cultural participation, employment, lifelong learning, and access to essential services. Now over to Garrett Sypek for the airports.
Thank you, Archie. Palm Beach International Airport continues to see increases in capacity and passenger levels above 2020 levels, but still just below the levels in 2019. The Department of Airports continues to move forward with infrastructure projects related to the terminal, airside, and landside facilities at PBI and our general aviation airports in an effort to provide the best experience and facilities for our customers and tenants. Additionally, new air carriers have announced service to and from PBI, along with the fact that existing carriers have added new markets and/or expanded service to existing markets that they currently have. Ali Bayat with Water Utilities will now update us on their projects.
Good morning, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. You have seen a lot of data from us over the past 6 months. I'm going to be quick. The first slide, there you go. So we continue to keep the affordability for the water. As you've seen on the slide, we're the second cheapest in Southeast Florida, and it's pretty much the same story as statewide for us. On the left side, we put some information about the lead and copper issue. I know it's a national issue. It's been in the news. We are in a great shape with respect to lead and copper. Rule is changing. We're expecting the new rule to be in place in 2 years, but we're not expecting any issue even with the new rules. Next slide, please. That's the takeaway for the water utilities. Not only we continue to be the most affordable, we are AAA rated, separate from the county, because we are an enterprise facility department, and also we are fully in compliance with any applicable rules, state or nationwide. Green Cave Phase 2, as Mr. Mayor, you visited us last week, appreciate it. Started. We're expecting that project to come to the construction and closing in the next 2-3 years. Next slide. This is the greatest achievement that perhaps we had this year. I'm going to have Mr. Acton to cover this story for you, but we are the first utility in the nation to receive this achievement. Mr. Acton, go.
Good morning. Basically, go back one slide, please. About 5 years ago, we went through developing our strategic sustainability program. Looking at that, we quickly realized that we have about $5 billion worth of assets that we kind of manage many different ways. And in doing that, we started to put a philosophy together with direction then from Mr. Stiles and now from Mr. Bayet. We've developed towards the ISO philosophy. We want to make sure that we're being leaders in our industry. We want to make sure that we are maintaining all of our assets going forward, even for our capital improvement programs, to figure out what we really need to do for our capital improvement programs. So through the 4-year program of going down that path, even with COVID, next slide, we did it. So we became the first water utility in North America to become ISO 55001 certified. It's a great accomplishment, and we're really proud of it. And we really would not have been able to accomplish this without the support from Ms. Baker and Mr. Bonlarin through this.
Thank you. Our third goal is very important, as our county continually strives to provide the best of everything, and that really starts by creating safe, healthy, attractive neighborhoods and communities. Next slide, please. The Parks and Recreation Department, recognizing the growing demand for pickleball, has added 12 new courts at John Prince and Burt Aronson South County Regional Park. Another 6 courts are under construction at Carlin Park. The department, in partnership with Housing and Economic Development, received grant funds to expand the basketball court at Limestone Creek and Sandcastle Community Park. And additional funding was provided by the Office of Community Revitalization. A number of expansion and redevelopment projects are underway in an effort to meet the needs of a growing and diverse population. Canyon District Park Phase 1 is under construction and will open this summer, along with pickleball courts and 10 sand volleyball courts at Carlin Park. Expansion projects planned for fiscal year 2020 include Canyon District Park Phase 2, Villages of Windsor Park Phase 1, Paulette Burdick Park. Design is underway on 2 aquatic facilities, the Lake Lytle, where we're going to have a YMCA community center, and Aquacrest. The master plan for Aquacrest is complete, and the design is underway. And with that, I'll turn it back over to David.
Thank you, Jean. This is a busy slide, but one of the best examples of what interdepartmental collaboration can do is the conception, development, and utilization of the infrastructure GIS portal by this cross-departmental team. The infrastructure portal was developed to share current, past, and future construction projects across several departments and agencies of Palm Beach County. The application was developed by countywide GIS along with the input and design instruction of water utilities, engineering, FDO, and the Transportation Planning Agency. Since the initial planning period, many other departments have joined, including airports, community services, housing, economic sustainability, PZMB, parks, and even FDOT. This has created a platform for entities to share the status and details of their project, provide a reference when scheduling and designing projects to reduce costs and disruptions to the community. Another use of the infrastructure portal is assisting the Office of Community Revitalization during their update of their Community Needs Analysis Report. OCR has been working with engineering and Parks and Recreation departments in partnership with neighborhood residents to identify and address infrastructure deficiencies in CCRT neighborhood. OCRs have facilitated the completion of several projects ranging from improvements to existing neighborhood parks to street and pathway improvements with the installation of streetlights and speed humps and installation of new or repairs to existing sidewalks. The 2022 report will provide an update of CCRT area projects, initiate recommendation, and an overview of the COVID-19 effects of PBC neighborhoods. The result of this critical needs is being identified and recommended to the board. Although the reassessment process has had some delays due to COVID-19, staff estimates completion of the final report by next month. Next slide. More than 35,000 linear feet of standard 6-foot sidewalks were added in 2020 alone during the 5-year road program, and a separate sidewalk program will focus on filling gaps in existing sidewalk network. Bike lanes has also been added to the county streets at a much higher rate, exceeding 130,000 linear feet so far this year. Bike lanes are added as part of both resurfacing and road construction projects. Next slide, please. Looking at traffic volumes. Traffic volumes collected in April from 45 locations throughout the county were only 5% below the pre-COVID-19 levels and almost back to the 2019 levels. Crashes dropped at a much higher rate than traffic volumes during the pandemic, and also now they're starting increasing, but still trending lower. Crashes were 17% lower in April of this year compared to the same month 2019. Now I'll turn it over to Gary.
As we know, Palm Beach County is an amazing travel destination and draws visitors from all over the world. As such, we work hard to provide our visitors, commuters, and residents alike with exceptional multimodal travel opportunities and safe and efficient transportation services. The Department of Airports continues to evaluate sustainable transportation initiatives and operations in all aspects of airport operations, including our ongoing sustainability management plan, as well as the recent Board of County Commissioners approval of a lease agreement with Ferrovial Vertiports LLC for the construction and subsequent operation of an electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft facility at PBI. I'll now hand it over to Clinton Forbes at Palm Tran.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Clinton Forbes, Executive Director of Palm Tran. Palm Tran actually has 18 performance metrics for its fixed route and paratransit service, but 2 of the more important metrics that we will share with you today are ridership, which are our customers, and on-time performance, which really defines the quality service delivered by transit operations. So listed on this graph are lines which indicate pre-pandemic ridership levels in 2019. That is the light blue line. The red tracks very similar ridership to 2019, but until February and March 2020. Ridership across fixed route and paratransit services dipped nearly 60% during the height of the pandemic. So as you can see, during the pandemic, ridership took a precipitous dip. While you'll see some ebbs and flows, you'll also notice a slight peak in ridership during the summer of 2020, and that's the red line. That is when we actually suspended fares, but once fares were reinstated, another downward trend. While ridership is important, because no one or no business wants to lose customers, during the start and now as we approach, hopefully the end, we have shifted our priority to the safety, health, and well-being of our employees and our customers as really our top priority. For the first time in my career, I was actually in the unenviable position of asking our customers not to use transit unless absolutely necessary. And so that, I just want to congratulate all of our PalmTran employees, but particularly our frontline employees and bargaining units that really stepped up to the plate when most of the population was sheltering in place. So the ridership, as you can see with the yellow line, if you could put the graph back up, thank you, has been a slow creep upward trend. And over the last several months, ridership has plateaued. So we're still running about 29% under our normal 2019 levels. So we are working hard to improve services with the federal assistance we and other transit agencies have received to attract new customers and hopefully convince those that have left to come back. This image also shows, it peers into one of our buses. You could see we have smart buses, and we have now enhanced them with infotainment screens, which gives customers real-time information on their next destination. It also is a security awareness feature where occasionally the cameras will show the customers actually on the bus, just to remind them that we are taking your picture. Next. This slide depicts on-time performance, which is another key performance metrics at PalmTran. On-time performance really defines the quality service delivery. This is essentially our contract with the customer. We print a schedule and post it online and distribute schedules that says that we'll get you to your destination at this time, safely and on time. So customers depend on us. So what this slide shows that we really are proud of is that we exceeded our goal during the pandemic and are currently maintaining our goal as we approach the end of the pandemic. Our goal is 78% on-time performance. You might say, well, why isn't it 100%? Well, that's our aspirational goal, but there are many variables that affect on-time performance, including traffic, accidents, et cetera. So a goal of 78%, between 80% is actually exceptional in the industry. Next. And we'll just end with this slide, which are just a few images of enhancements today and into the future. The Transportation Development Plan, which you passed last month, is really our strategic document that lays out the vision of public transit services in Palm Beach County over the next 10 years, the next gen. You'll also see, and many of you attended our opening of our new PalmTran headquarters in Delray Beach, a LEED certified facility, fully federally funded, $26 million. So we're very proud of that. Of course, we introduced on November of last year our new state-of-the-art fare technology system, the Paradise Pass. And just to give you a real quick report on the progress of this, and our customers are extremely adroit with this new technology. We have more than 7,000 of our customers that have registered for the Paradise Pass. And interestingly enough, 5,000 of the 7,000 customers, they're using the mobile app. And so that was really surprising. We have about 2,000 that are using the smart card, the new Paradise smart card, but most of them are using the mobile app, which is a pleasant surprise for us. Of course, as I refer to street furniture, bus shelter, sidewalks, ADA access to our buses, because every transit trip begins and ends with a pedestrian trip. So we have to make sure that we have great street furniture, and that's one of our goals for this year, to install and replace our street furniture, our bus shelters and bus stops. Next is, of course, the Route Performance Maximization Project. This is 2.0. In 2018, we redesigned our bus network to make it more usable. We're not stopping there. We are looking at, first and last mile to help customers get to our system, our mainline system. Trying to build on the success of the mobility on demand approach in the Glades region, and of course, the TPA's 561 plan, which will really enhance some of our existing routes with premium transit. And last, we are developing a master plan for fleet and infrastructure electrification. Public transit, even with clean diesel, has been green before green was popular. But the electrification of our fleet will really take us to a new level of sustainability. And so in the Transportation Planning Agency's plan, we already have dollars allocated to introduce our first 7 electric buses, and we hope to have those manufactured by 24-25. And of course, this master plan will make sure that we are ready to transition from diesel to electric over the next 15 to 20 years. So with that, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Clinton, talk about Congressman Frankel's presentation. You gave with an announcement, talk about that grant, federal grant.
Yeah, one great thing, when you look at silver linings about the pandemic, the federal support in terms of funding has just been tremendous on the county level and definitely in our industry. Since the pandemic, PalmTran, through all the recovery dollars, we've received over $131 million, not including the new infrastructure bill. And so we're working closely with our congressional delegates, such as Frankel, Mr. Bonlaren's office, to begin to now apply for the infrastructure bill and all of the funding that will become available in that bill. And so that bill will help us accelerate our introduction of electric buses in Palm Beach County.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Sure. Let me bring it on home. To finish out, the team will continue to identify overarching goals to ensure high-quality, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure services countywide, coordinating with department projects to reduce overall infrastructure-related costs and interruptions to the community, continually assess existing infrastructure and service delivery needs in residential neighborhoods with a particular focus on those underserved CCRT areas, develop strategies and implementation plans to address existing deficiencies and as well as funding strategies to complete capital improvements, establish key performance indicators to support the team goals. Again, on behalf of my CDT infrastructure teammates and I, we thank you for taking the time to listen and for your continued support. At this time, we'll take any questions you may have for us.
Thank you, Mr. Ricks. We certainly do appreciate it. I'm going to take advantage of the fact that no lights are on yet and start. Mr. Forbes, I am, as you know, a strong advocate for public transportation. And in fact, I'm thinking back to the days when I went to school up in Boston with the trackless trolleys, and we were electrified up there 30, 40 years ago. So I'm glad to see that Palm Beach County is coming forward and accepting electrification. But you and I both know that until we are able to improve our headways and increase the number of bus shelters out there, choice riders are going to go someplace else. And so I'm going to, again, reinforce my request that we do something that is going to, again, embrace people out there that are ready to use public transportation. I'm heartened by the fact that people, when it was free, came out and used it. That's a good thing. And I think that we need to look at this, and it's a chicken and the egg. Is it that you improve headways and then more people will travel, or do you need more people traveling on the buses before you improve the headways? And my thought is you have to improve the headways first.
And you're right in line. I mean, their frequency is the one contributing factor, the most important contributing factor to increasing ridership. And it speaks to that cherished commodity, right? The number one commodity in the world, which is time. And if you increase the speed of travel or someone waiting at the bus stop, you increase ridership. And just to illustrate that, our Route 43, which is one of our top 5 routes, it traverses Okeechobee Boulevard from the intermodal West Palm Beach to Wellington, east-west route. We moved the headway, which is the time the bus shows up, the interval, which was 30 minutes all day, to 20 minutes. And, we had a little funding to do that. And we immediately saw in 2 months a 13% increase in ridership, and it continues to climb. So frequency is first. We have to improve the frequency of the system for people to really use it more.
Absolutely. We again, people need to be able to know that if they're standing at a bus stop, they're not going to wait 40 minutes because they just missed the bus before them. And again, I can't, I'm looking at what Brightline is now doing with their stations, where they're going to have a free a free shuttle.
The free shuttle. Tesla.
Within 5 miles of their stations,
Yeah.
which may take something away.
Can we buy some Teslas? No?
I mean, I think that we need to, again, we've talked about this before. We were talking about housing before, which is strangling us, but there's 3 legs to this stool that we need to keep our eyes on. One is transportation, one is housing, and the third is education. And we've done a lot as far as discussing education. If UF comes here, that's going to be a feather in our cap. We have A-rated schools. We have discussed what we're going to have to do with housing. But transportation is a very important component, and we have to have a deliverable that people are going to be able to embrace and be able to leave their cars behind. So I call upon you to do more with less,
Yeah.
basically.
So we can't purchase the Teslas. And so, Mayor, no, I really want to thank you for your leadership and support. And you're right on point. A part of our strategic vision, our long-term, but really short-term plan is really eliminating that first last mile. And we don't have to use Teslas. The county administrator already said we can't purchase Teslas. But we do have Uber, we have Lyft, we have taxis. And we want to begin to partner, and this is nothing new, this happens all around the country, where, public transit agencies are partnering with these providers to fill that gap, and definitely in Palm Beach County, about how we're sprawled and guard-gated communities. Can we get you out of that guard-gate community by using Uber or Lyft to get us to the mainline system, the intermodal, and then take in your trip with a transit trip? And so that's what we're working on in our strategic vision at PalmTran.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. I appreciate that. PBIA, this was something that came up in a business development meeting I was at just this week. And the fact is that we need to be able to put more direct routes coming out of PBIA to attract businesses here, to make it easier for us to go to Tallahassee and lobby our delegation. It's ridiculous that we need to go to Tampa or Atlanta to go to Fort Lauderdale. To go to to Tallahassee. I had to drive down to Miami to go to Tallahassee. I flew back into Fort Lauderdale. That's, I'm not going to say inexcusable, but it certainly is not the way it should be. Sure. And I think that we're losing, as people are trying to figure out the load factors before they put new routes here, I think we're losing out on people who are driving to Fort Lauderdale to pick up a flight, and we're not getting credit for that. And I think we have residents here, South County especially, who are just getting in their cars and going down to Fort Lauderdale. And we need to have a way of capturing that data so that we can encourage these airlines to come in here and give us direct routes. what can we do to do that?
Mayor, it's a constant issue that we've dealt with for years and years and years, and our staff, Laura Beebe, and under her leadership, and our air service folks and our marketing folks, on a daily basis, we're compiling that data, presenting it to airlines, going to the different conferences, asking for the time with the airlines, going to the corporate offices of the airlines, and feeding that information to them. And it's basically their decision. I mean, we lay out that story, exactly what you just said. I will tell you, it's been a challenge for us, but we continue to work on that issue.
Well, I think you need to keep on working at that challenge.
We will.
Thank you very much. And finally, on water utilities, I'm going to tell you that I was blown away by my tour of Green Cay. And water is certainly not an exciting subject. I used to think that Boca Raton was in the prime place because they have a great water utilities department. But what I saw at Green Cay really impressed me with the fact that not only do we have a great program for having excellent water quality in our drinking water, having a great program for reclaimed water and essentially making sure none of it is going out to the ocean, but also being able to clean the sewage, very exciting subject, to a point where it can be reclaimed and used for irrigation and pelletized, used for fertilizer, and have a recreational facility that is really such a great facility here in South County. And I am just, Mr. Bonlaren, I thank you very much for suggesting that trip. County Administrator, it is a real jewel in this county. So again, that is one of those things that it's difficult to get excited about clean water, but this was really a great trip. Commissioner McKinley, you've been waiting a long time. It's your turn.
That's okay. You're the transportation guy. I'm the farm girl. This is your field. Haha, no pun intended. On that note, Mr. Ricks, you very quickly identified over $315 million worth of road projects that we could classify as farm to market. And when we're talking about building our infrastructure and building our economy and making sure that agriculture is sustainable in our community and not seeing those farmlands out in the Everglades agricultural area turned into anything else except farm production areas, I just want to make sure that that's part of the conversation. We don't have any CCRTs in the Glades community, and so when I hear that our focus is on CCRT communities, I know you've done a lot in the Glades community, and just ask that we continue to make that a priority, and perhaps we consider, if we're going to keep these cross teams in place, we consider, poor guy is going to be scheduled out the wazoo, but we consider putting somebody like Ron Rice on this team to make sure the voices of that agricultural industry are represented in terms of the infrastructure they need. It's not only roads, it's also water, it's also housing, it's also, fire rescue services. All of those things are needed in terms of infrastructure to support the ag industry. And I had a very good conversation with Secretary Thibault. I'm so sad to see that he is leaving. Orlando gets him. Yes, he got hired by the Orlando Regional Airport Authority, so he has resigned, and they will be putting in a new DOT secretary. And I just ask that you be on the ground level of those conversations, and we immediately meet with the new secretary once they're hired and in place.
We'll do. One of the things related to that big ask list is to find out the details with this new infrastructure bill. And so we're trying to find out the details and read the tea leaves, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of grant-based. And so we're trying to figure out what pot of money we can ask. And so that those requirements in terms of the farm to market is really ripe for a major input. But we got to figure out how to ask for the dollars. And so we will keep that at the top of our list. But thank you for that recommendation.
Yes, thank you. And I have been on the road so much in the last 2 weeks that I didn't know where I was when I woke up this morning. Tallahassee, Washington, Tallahassee, Sarasota, and back to here. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, but I did have the opportunity to meet with our lobbyist in Washington and talk to him about that farm to market road, and maybe you can connect with him and see what you can do in terms of your expertise to help him he's looking at some other creative ideas and trying to get that through Congress.
Yes, ma'am, will do.
And then Mr. Forbes, in Arlington, Virginia, had the opportunity to drive through there. They have the dedicated bus lanes down the middle of the road, and it works really well. I know that is a concept that you were looking at, and I think it's a good one. And then my last comment is just a thank you to Water Utilities for everything that they're doing to coordinate their pipe replacement, their infrastructure repair projects with your engineering department, Mr. Ricks, and making sure that if we're going to tear up the roads, that we go ahead and use that time to repave them up to the best standards possible. And that's efficiency, and I like being able to say that word efficiency in the context of government.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McKinley. I'm just going to let you know that before we have 3 more comments, and then we're going to break for lunch before we do the housing, because I think we're going to want to have a full stomach before we address housing. So I'm going to now recognize Commissioner Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple questions. One is for Mr. Archie Satchel. Mr. Satchel, I know, with cell phone services is so important. I know we have a lot of residents who come to this building, but the cell phone services barely work in this building. What can we do to improve the services in this building?
We actually have a capital project on the way to put a cell phone booster in this building and the courthouse across the street. It's part of our capital project for this year. With the construction that's going around, the hurricane film on the windows, it diminished the signal in this building, and most of our buildings anyway. So we have a project that's on our way to do that this year.
And what's the time frame for
Well, hopefully we can get it done this year. We're working with all the carriers because you have to get all the carriers and not one to work through that. So we should get that done this year.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
My other question is for Mr. Call. Eric Call, on page 24 of the slide,
I don't have the slide, but
no, that's fine. No, it's got the upcoming projects. So I was just wondering, is the Gramercy Community Center Park as part of that project timeline, or do you have a timeline for that? Is it in part of this or no?
Yeah, this is just a short listing of a sample of some of the projects. It is on the list. I think over the next year, they've already started the process with seeking the design team for that. We're working with facilities. Isami is here, also can help tell us where we're at with that.
Happy to. Good morning, Isami Ayala, Director of Facilities Development and Operations. We received the proposals for design services on the 20th, so last week. We're moving forward then with scheduling shortlist and final selection from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Commissioner White, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all again for an excellent presentation and sharing this information with us. My question really is, in I think probably to Mr. Leach or Ms. Houston. In regards, I know we did recently you guys did the community assessment, but trying to understand sort of, and I know we're planning to do it in some other areas, but as we know, sea level rise, climate change, additional flooding, and so forth doesn't know any boundaries. And so is there a group meeting in the county to really analyze and say, okay, we've got these roadways in the next 10 years that are going to need to be renovated, reworked, raised, to deal with the impacts of sea level rise. In the same way, we have all these different conveyance systems for stormwater from the Lake Worth Drainage District to all the other individual entities. And is that being coordinated as well and being looked at? I know, as we get together and we talk to the folks from Broward and Miami-Dade, Broward is in deep, deep trouble in their western areas. due to their stormwater system not being able, I mean, theirs expected to fail in 8 years. So I'm curious as to if we're doing anything in that regard and what are the plans?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Megan Houston, Resilience Director for the Office of Resilience. So on the question of Palm Beach County coordination, you know, the Southeast Palm Beach County Climate Change Assessment Group, I mean, that was the start of how municipalities are starting to work together to plan for climate change impacts from sea level rise to extreme heat. When we're talking about county coordination, you know, this infrastructure cross-departmental team is exactly a perfect venue for those conversations, and having Dave Ricks and Ali Byatt and, you know, all these great leaders from airports and every other department too, to look at those big picture questions is going to be absolutely essential as we get new information in, as we continue to do these climate change vulnerability assessments, as we're building our resilience action plan, which is something we're working on for the next 4 years with grant money. That'll be that time to look at those big, you know, short, medium, long-term goals, as well as our Resiliency and County Capital Construction Project, PPM. That's another time where we're asking project leads as we're building bridge replacement projects and other infrastructure solutions to think about those sea level rise and other consequences that are coming and plan accordingly. On the question of canals and how that is playing out, I mean, Broward County, there was a recent article in the Sun Sentinel calling attention to the canal systems there. You know, something Jeremy McBrien started, our water resources manager, is connecting with the South Florida Water Management District's resiliency lead there and starting to have kind of quarterly check-ins, and I'm involved in that too. So, you know, so yes, collaboration is happening. I think we'll see more of that as we continue to get new information every day, every month on what we need to be doing to continue to be proactive.
Right. I mean, I really think and encourage you guys to continue to do that. By the way, you guys did an awesome job with the Southeast Climate Compact Summit. There was a lot of really good, valuable information that was shared from that. But I think, yeah, that is, as you're looking at these things, I mean, this is, I mean, the water is going to go where the water is going to go, and if we're not prepared and working together, one person's excess water is going to be somebody else's flooding, and to make sure that everything's being coordinated throughout, not even the county, but throughout our region, quite frankly.
Right.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Very good, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Sachs, how you doing?
Thank you very much. I'd like to echo what our Vice Mayor stated about climate change, and also, if you could come on up for just a minute, if you could. You've been in my office numerous times, and we've discussed this, and you've been very forthcoming in connecting all of the counties as well as all of the areas within Palm Beach County for these climate change issues. And I know that our Vice Mayor is sort of noted to be our person on board for this. And have you begun to look at, and your team begun to look at some of the threats to climate that's going to be impacted by development in the Ag Reserve?
I'd say, you know, generally these types of climate change vulnerability assessments that we've started to working on looks at the starting point of climate threats and then how that interplays with the assets that we have. Those assets can be natural resources to infrastructure, to people, to our economy. So, you know, the Ag Reserve as an entity would be one of those assets included in that assessment. So the CCVA, the Climate Change Vulnerability Assessment that we just did, it did not have Ag, you know, reserve area within that scope. So moving forward, when we're looking at unincorporated Palm Beach County for that climate change vulnerability assessment that's coming up next, you know, that is within the scope. So it as an asset will be considered in how we are identifying and evaluating climate risk and climate resiliency. And I think we've been, you know, included in some of the Ag Reserve workshops, and coordinating with PZ&B on resiliency practices there. But I'm not sure if I'm not sure about a specific assessment just yet.
Not only, I'm very pleased that you see that area in our county designated as the agricultural reserve as an asset, because I think it is. And, but also, would you consider the Loxahatchee Wildlife Refuge that is located within the Ag Reserve also an asset that your office would review in terms of any residential development that could impact the that vulnerability of that particular asset for the county?
Yeah, I think when you have a broad mission like preserve sustainability and increase climate resiliency for Palm Beach County, we have a lot of things that we need to look at and balance those, right? So natural resources absolutely are important and integral for biodiversity and cleaning our water and so many other things. At the same time, we need to be, part of resiliency is economic development and affordable housing and things like that. So I think generally we do, we have to balance a lot of competing interests sometimes and have that overall mission. So I don't want to comment specifically because I'm not, I haven't done that in-depth look at the areas that you're bringing up, but I'd say, in general, we have many, many assets in Palm Beach County, and climate change is a very nuanced field. Sustainability, resiliency is nuanced, so it's hard to comment without having more information.
I was just wondering, I didn't want a dissertation on it, just, okay.
Yeah.
Just whether the Loxahatchee Wildlife Refuge is considered to be an asset, as you had discussed, with regard to climate change.
Thank
you. Just simple.
Yeah.
Thank
I'm
you.
an environmental lover and natural resources lover, so, generally
Exactly.
happy
Thank
to-
you so
yeah,
much.
thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Sacks. Commissioner McKinley?
Mr. Mayor, if there's no more questions on this item, I just had one official piece of business I forgot to take care of earlier when you asked for off-site proclamations.
Okay, we seem to have exhausted this subject, so thank you very much, and we appreciate your presentation. Commissioner McKinley, I'm sorry. Okay, Commissioner McKinley, go.
No, I just simply wanted to thank OF&B staff, our strategic planning group, Mr. Clinkscale, along with Ms. Millett, and under the auspices of Sherry Brown for their hard work, and all of the departments that cooperate. We'll continue to grow this program because it is an efficient and effective way of providing services, and the more input we have when we're making the early on budget type decisions, the better off we all are as taxpayers and the services that we can provide to our residents. So we will continue this process. It has been it has been an excellent team building program, because once they start working on a program, they'll say, well, how is that going to affect another department? So we've come a long way, and I am very proud of Team PBC and what we've accomplished.
And we certainly appreciate this opportunity to listen to these presentations and have these conversations. As you said, we're spending $5 billion of the residents' money, and we should know how we're spending it. Commissioner McKinley, you are recognized.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to do an off-site proclamation recognizing January as Firefighter Cancer Prevention Month.
Okay, I have a second by Vice Mayor Weiss. All in favor, all opposed. That is approved, 6-0. We are going to take a recess until 1 o'clock. We'll see you back here to talk about affordable homes at housing at 1 o'clock.